Good morning, and welcome to the second annual Women to Watch Summit. My name is Jessica Raphael. I'm the Communications Manager at Career Communications Group, and I'll be your host today. On behalf of the Women of Color STEM Conference, we're excited to be here today and bring you this incredible summit featuring women in STEM. Our mission is to inspire, educate, and encourage women to support each other, enhance their self esteem, and live a balanced, dedicated life to self fulfillment. You can stay engaged today by using the QR code in the corner. Feel free to leave comments, ask questions, and make connections throughout the program. So let's get started with our first segment. We have a great talk coming up by General Janine Burkhead, Adjunct General for the Maryland National Guard. She'll be sharing a motivational talk with us. Please welcome General Burkhead.
Hi, good afternoon or good morning, and so glad to be here with you today, and thanks for that introduction. So I'm General Janine Burkhead, and I also serve as the Deputy Commandant for Reserve Affairs at the United States Army War College. And while in the National Guard, I dual tracked both my military career and my civilian career in the federal government. And most recently, I served as a senior advisor for the Bureau of Trust Funds Administration within the Department of Interior. So as most of you know, the journey and a notable career, is not easy, doesn't come easy. There's sacrifices, wins and losses, fun and fear. I'm going to talk about a few of those things today with you. So over the next few moments, please enjoy my journey as I share my origin story. I hope to inspire and motivate and help to affirm and realize that there are avenues that you can overcome and obstacles to pursue any goal you wish to fearlessly. Since this is a women's summit, I'd like to start off by saying a few words about the one woman I've watched and learned from my entire life. And that woman is the Honorable Fannie W. Burkhead, my mother. We just lost her about a year ago. And as a young girl growing up in a small community on Maryland's Eastern Shore, I couldn't help but be inspired by my mother and her spirit for public service. A spirit that was imbued in our family, which became central to our approach in my life at an early age. Mommy grew up without much. She also had drive, and she became a councilwoman, a mayor, and an orphans court judge in her lifetime. Mommy instilled in me an authentic respect and passion for public service. And in high school, she encouraged me to compete for a 4-year Army ROTC scholarship in the U.S. Army, which ultimately led to me becoming this general you see today. I did not approach the challenge of competing for the ROTC scholarship fearlessly, I must tell you. I went into this challenge with much trepidation, but always up for a challenge. When selected for the scholarship, I decided not to turn it down. And that was the beginning of my military journey, and it continues to this day. I went on to graduate from Hampton University as a distinguished military graduate. While the accolade felt good, I'll be honest, as a freshly minted lieutenant, it really felt great. The truth is that after reflecting on that journey and what mommy nurtured in me, I must tell you that those formative years really led to me being successful as an ROTC cadet and then ultimately a second lieutenant. So in order for me to reach my goals, it not only took determination and tenacity, it took others pushing me beyond what I thought I was capable of. Like, for instance, the physical fitness, what we call PT, every day running around Hampton's campus while my roommate was still in bed, I assure you. That source of that spirit, intrinsic, but in my experience, it nurtured me and it guided me and influenced my life. Friends, family, educators, religious leaders, and others also helped to nurture that. But growth didn't just end when you hit adulthood. It's my journey to the rank of general that's been possible only by mentors, and a few of those I will mention as I give this talk today. As a 20-something, we often believe that we have all the answers and feel like we're unstoppable. But as we acquire more experience, we come to realize that there's still a lot of knowledge and growth yet to come. The men and women who helped me open my eyes to the possibilities that were instrumental in me broadening my perspective encouraged me both mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and offered valuable insights both to myself and about the world. Whether it's leadership, mentoring, diversity and inclusion, resiliency, there's a common thread through all of these, and that's communication. The value of appropriate, insightful, and productive communication cannot be overstated in my personal journey, and I believe in the journey of others. Without effectively communicating desires and values and challenges to a mentor or a sponsor, even, you cannot seek their support, and their support will be rendered useless. I offer this, whether a mentor or a mentee or a sponsor or being sponsored. Remember, words have power in shaping our perception of reality, as well as influencing our behavior and our emotions. Language is not simply a means of communication, but rather a fundamental part of how we understand the world and how we see ourselves. Language is often used to categorize and label things, which can be both helpful but limiting. And while labels can help us make sense of the world around us, they can also lead to oversimplification and stereotypes. The way we communicate can be used to create and reinforce unintentional consequences. It goes further than just the gender language, some words and phrases we see in STEM usually, such as he or him, when referring to generic persons. We need to weed that language out. And so there's a book that I'll reference, and it's called Taming Your Gremlin by Richard Carson. And Carson focuses on overcoming that self-sabotage language, the negative self-talk. And the book presents the concept of a gremlin, which is a metaphor for that negative self-talk that we do that holds you back in life. And the book also recognizes that we sometimes become gremlins for others. And so you may have heard some of these words or phrases in your lifetime or in your career, such as when I was your age, or it's too late for that, or you should have acted before, or just leave things the way they are, or that won't do any good, that limiting kind of talk. Those are examples of that gremlin speaking to others. And so let me give you an example in my personal life. In high school, my mom and I were watching TV one day and we saw Amy Carter come on the news, and she was talking about being a page. And I said to Mommy, what's a page? And she didn't know. And so we began to look into what does it mean to be a page? And what Mommy said to me that day is, Janine, I don't know, but let's figure it out. There were no gremlins in her response. And so then at my 11th grade year in high school, I moved to DC. I served as a page in the US House of Representatives. Just to think if she had used gremlin language, such as, you can't do that, or boy, that's probably too hard, or you have to be connected to get that job, Janine. That's not what Mommy did. So the way we communicate can reflect and perpetuate societal norms and values or challenges, but not promote change or promote change. I encourage you all to use language and to communicate in ways that challenge gender stereotypes and promote inclusivity and diversity. When I think about inclusivity and diversity, I reflect on those who have mentored, coached, trained, and sponsored me through my journey. They have been and are a diverse group of people and individuals with varied perspectives and varied backgrounds. That diversity of thought and experience adds a richness to the mentorship, which is crucial to creating a resilient individual, both personally and professionally. If done equitably and well, these relationships can help create a wise and strategic mentee, soldier, employee, coworker, staff, son or daughter, who's able to step out and lead when called. I was fortunate to have amazing mentors. I already mentioned my mom, a leader, a change agent, and a community advocate. Those who are parents know the awesome responsibility that comes with that role. My mom set me up for success by being that role model and that mentor. She told me the hard truth when I needed to hear something comforting. She did, but she did not tell me falsehoods. She pushed me and she challenged me, but she never demanded anything of me she wouldn't have demanded of herself 4 or 5 times over. She set me on a path for success. A mentor in my life who helped me on the path to success is the former Adjutant General, General James F. Frederick, and I think of him fondly. A white man of advanced years who was mentored by a segregationist, selected this Black woman as an aide when I was a second lieutenant. This would change the trajectory of my career. Now I need to explain the significance of an aide. The general officers are allowed a junior officer to serve as their aide de camp. It's a role that's incredibly responsible. You're fresh, inexperienced, not having managed your own schedule for very long. Now you're expected to manage a schedule of a senior leader in the organization. The exposure and the opportunities to interact with senior leaders and people are invaluable to your career. It's probably one of the most choice assignments in the military, and people hope for that job. And guess what? He chose me. Like all of us, General Frederick had his faults, but one thing no one can deny is that he created opportunities for women and minorities. He mentored me as his aide, and in later years, as I progressed through my career, the lessons I learned from him paid off. General Frederick understood sponsorship and actively advocating for his proteges throughout their career and for their advancement. General Frederick freely used his influence and networks to promote his proteges' visibility and credibility, putting his own reputation on the line to advance others, particularly women, in many different positions. While mentorship is focused on providing guidance and support, sponsorship is more about creating opportunities and opening doors for others. I think of Dr. Retired Major General Linda Singh, the first Black woman to hold the position that I hold now. As both mentor and sponsor, General Singh's achievements of breaking barriers are significant and cannot be undone. Although there may be attempts to restore barriers, it will never be formidable as it once was. However, she did not stop there. She also played a role in supporting and guiding others. While she was Adjutant General, she appointed to all 3 leadership positions women, resulting in the nation's first women all leadership team in the military. Unfortunately, the appointment of an all-female leadership team brought the ire of some. It was certainly uplifting to a lot. However, when a flyer was posted in our headquarters in Baltimore at the Armory demeaning our accomplishment, we took that as an opportunity to communicate, to speak truth to power, and demonstrate through our leadership that the reason we were selected as leaders was not simply because of our gender, but that our entire careers represent leading and successfully leading organizations. I was privileged to serve as her Assistant Adjutant General for Army, a role that I continued to fill until I was selected by Governor Moore for the position I hold now. Working directly for General Singh, I was able to witness a razor-sharp intellect at work as she sought to address the challenges of our organization. Major General Singh played a significant role in responding to the 2015 unrest that occurred in Baltimore after the death of Freddie Gray. A Black man who suffered a spinal cord injury while in police custody. At the time, General Singh was the Adjutant General for the Maryland National Guard, and she was responsible for overseeing the National Guard's response to the unrest. General Singh's leadership during this period was widely praised as she worked to balance the need of the organization and the community while maintaining safety and protecting citizens. She made a point of communicating often with the community and leading from the front. I watched her in 2015, which gave me confidence as we worked as the Maryland Guard worked for the peaceful transfer of power for the last presidential election. Watching her, a Black woman like myself, successfully taking on a difficult and important role, I thought if she could do it, I could too. So I encourage you to serve as a mentor and to approach your work with a sense of pride and commitment, always striving to do your best and maintaining honesty and transparency. Remember that you never know who is observing your actions and looking to you as an example. I have discussed the important role that mentors and supporters play in shaping Janine Burkhead's life and career. However, it is equally important to acknowledge the institutions that have influenced and continue to shape not only my journey, but the broader society we live in. Throughout the first 144 years of the nation's history, women were not afforded equal status to men and were barred from serving in the military just a few 144 short years ago. Despite these obstacles, women have a long and storied history of continuing to contribute to the military. Some disguised themselves as men to enlist, while others openly took up arms when necessary. As the military evolved, women were gradually integrated into all ranks. Today, women can serve in any role in the armed forces. In 2023, we live in a nation where institutions of all types are under scrutiny. One of the institutions is the U.S. military. As a military officer, I do not view the world through naive lenses. I am acutely aware of the challenges and the complexities that we face in our current global challenge. The military is not exempt from its own set of challenges. As a microcosm of the broader society, we confront serious issues such as sexual assault, sexual harassment, discrimination, mental health, suicide, among others, just to name a few. However, the solution to these problems is not to dismantle this institution we serve in. It is a foundation for our society. We would be counterproductive, I believe, if we did destroy this. Instead, however, I believe we must work towards reforming and strengthening these institutions so that we can continue to serve our country the best way possible. The U.S. military, despite the challenges it faces, sexual harassment, discrimination, is responsible for shaping who I am today and molding future generations, future leaders, and the generals of tomorrow. Despite its shortcomings, the military is committed to addressing these issues and making a positive impact on society. By improving within its ranks, the military can benefit the society as a whole, I believe. The military played a significant role in shaping two of the most important people who played a part in my military career, General Singh and General Frederick, emphasizing the institution's ability to produce both productive and exceptional leaders. The American military institution serves as a model for the larger society and shows us what can be achieved. I previously mentioned that I'm proud to be the second African American woman in my position, which is not a coincidence. The number of women holding leadership positions is steadily rising. And as the second female Adjutant General of Maryland, I'm committed to ensuring that more women reach higher levels of leadership. This can only be achieved through intentional and deliberate efforts to cultivate female leaders. One's leadership qualities are not merely defined by their rank or authority or power or character or mindset. True leadership is based on influence, service, and the impact they have on others. Leadership by, with, and through mentoring, coaching, teaching, training, and sponsoring new leaders can develop and cultivate them over time. As a leader, my goal is to face challenges directly overcome the obstacles, and help all soldiers and airmen achieve excellence. I aim to inspire others, regardless of race, or religion, or other factors. Diversity is important at every level. Diversity, without accepting diversity, our organization cannot function. But the diversity does not happen by itself. It demands attention and intention. A challenge it is a challenge to be a productive man, a productive leader. And referring to my earlier comments about communication, women can use words and communication skills in a variety of ways to be better leaders. And here are a few of my suggestions. Use clear, direct language, call it out when you see it, and don't forget that you need to have a suggestion to fix it. But don't stop there. Be authentic. Women leaders can use their own personal stories and experience to connect with others. Tell your own narrative. Don't let someone else tell it for you. In my experience, using clear and direct language, listening actively, using inclusive language, and being authentic helped me to create a positive and productive culture and an inclusive culture. I am so proud of an organization that values diversity. In 2021, the most recent data available for the organization, women made up 21.4% of the National Guard and reserves across all services. Since 2017, the percentage of women in reserve component rose 1.8%. That's an up, and it shows upward growth. In the military, we learn to work with people who may not look like us, sound like us, or come from the same background. We learn lessons from them that make our organization better. In the military, we are trained to collaborate with individuals who might not share our same physical appearances, linguistic style or background, or cultural heritage. Despite these differences, the teams we create are exceptionally efficient. There's still much work to be done, I will tell you that, and we still encounter numerous challenges and obstacles. However, our ability to work together and collaborate across social barriers that may seem insurmountable in civilian life, it is a core aspect of the military culture. I invite all of you to be agents of change as you use your voice and power to influence and make a positive difference where you are in your sphere. As a practical matter, we all are at war for talent. In the military, the same holds true. 23% can serve, and less than 1% will serve in our volunteer military. And that's not enough. We are looking for talent. Here in Maryland, the National Guard uses a model we call Aviation Warrior to pique interest in aviation by taking the aircraft and the crew to schools to talk about aircraft maintenance, engineering, and other aspects of aviation. We support various STEM events in local schools, colleges, at both the local level and at the collegiate level. And we're exploring other options to represent cyber, aviation, intelligence, and the medical field as example. The military also offers a wide range of scholarships and fellowship programs in the STEM area. These programs provide financial assistance and other resources to those wanting to get into the STEM field. Research has shown the probability of earning a STEM degree is higher for women who have been veterans and served in the military. So I ask you to consider that when you're hiring veterans or looking at veterans in your organization. I believe my path to success, and not success itself, is where I grew as a leader and ultimately into the general officer you see today. Success doesn't come right away. Success requires a strong foundation and requires effort. And two characteristics that I have seen in my mentors is resiliency and the ability to adjust in unwanted change, in a time of unwanted change. They needed to have grit and perseverance to achieve their goals and obstacles, and that's a trait they have engendered in me. I accept that you will that you will fail, that you will stand and fail on your road to achieving your goals. I recommend that you do and suggest that you do your very best. You know there'll be setbacks. That's what happens. I encourage you to learn from others, bounce back, stick with it, be resilient. We all will succeed with those characteristics. I've talked quite a bit, I know, about me today and about my journey. So, just a few more things. It's essential to acknowledge that we are all part of someone's network and institution. I urge you to acknowledge that you are a vital part of someone else's network and institution. Even if you're not aware of it, your actions are contributing to someone's level of preparedness or unpreparedness, support or lack of support, burden sharing or caring, or their success or failure. You have the power to either facilitate or impede the progress of others. As individuals collectively making up an institution, your actions ultimately shape the future and the culture of many. It's all up to you. It's all up to us. So I thank you for your time today and for the privilege of addressing you. I wish you all much success in the future and in our collective journeys. Thank you.
Thank you, General Burkhead, for that inspiring speech and for sharing your story with us. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Stay tuned for our next segment.
So why be a part? If you're looking to improve your skill set, then our conferences are where you need to be. In today's world, people need training more than ever, even if it is a little refresher. And this is the place to learn. These are career-changing events that enrich your life both professionally and personally. If you're a student who is in college looking to graduate and want to find out what it's like to be a new professional, this is the place to be. You're going to learn from new professionals. You're going to be sitting right next to one of them. They need to tweak their skills. They're still learning. Sitting next to them is going to be a middle manager, someone who needs a little refresher on how do I deal with employees? How do I help them? How do I make them better employees? And last but not least, the person on that row is going to be the CEO of the next Fortune 500 organization, because they want to find the hungry employees and hire that person. So who should come to our seminars? Pretty much everyone.
Welcome back to the Women to Watch Summit. Our next segment is the Conversation of Change, where our panel of experts will be discussing the challenges women face when building a career in STEM. Our moderator today is Jo Lasirica, Customer Success Operations Lead at Health Catalyst. She will be joined by Tamika Gray, Program Manager at Health Catalyst, and Daphne Brooks, Diversity Operations Program Analyst at the Office of Secretary of the Air Force. Welcome.
Thank you, Jess, and good morning. Thank you for joining us today. I am Jo Lasirica, Customer Success Operations Lead at the Health Catalyst, and the moderator for today's session. The Conversation of Change addresses the challenges that Black and Latinx women encounter when building a career. I'm joined today by panelist Tamika Gray, Proposal Project Manager at Health Catalyst, and Daphne Brooks, Diversity Outreach Program Manager for the Department of the Air Force. In this live session, you will be able to ask questions using the Slido app. Please use your phone to scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen now to access the session's chat feature. Again, this session will explore efforts that have been made to advance DE&I in the tech industry, as well as challenges that Black and Latinx women encounter when building a career. We have chosen an open format that will cover the following topics. Why is this topic relevant? How have we overcome barriers in the tech workplace? And what can others learn from that? And then also, how can affinity ERG groups help support us build our careers? And what are some of the benefits? I can help to kick off the first one. Why is this topic so relevant? To me, this topic is crucial because not only do we have barriers in building a career as women, especially in fields that are dominated by white males, but being a Latinx woman, I have to navigate my cultural differences from those around me, and how that can and does impact the perception of me in my career. Then there are struggles of feeling like you have to choose between being your authentic self and how that can impact building your career. Those are just a few thoughts from me. Daphne, what are some of your thoughts?
Your thoughts are on point, and I can agree, even as an African-American woman, Black woman, that we do have to cross various barriers, and this is very important, just understanding the lack of representation in this career field, understanding that some of the perceptions are this is a male-dominated, a man's world, so there may be some apprehension to even trying to approach this particular area as far as seeking careers. So we have to have that representation. We have to build the confidence levels so that women behind us in the communities we represent can feel the confidence, can know that they can succeed in this arena. So this is very important for that reason.
Definitely. I love that, Daphne. And Tamika, what about you?
Yeah, I think women have always faced, special challenges. It's like we're always, fighting along our male counterparts. And particularly these past couple of years, alongside, during the COVID pandemic, we saw how women bared a lot of that, with the whole world changing and having to stay home and take care of kids and, trying to fight their way back into the workforce, and a lot of those jobs were no longer necessary. So I think it's very important. This topic is always important. Just the challenges we've always faced, the new challenges, and just finding our footing. So support is very, very crucial, and this topic is very relevant.
Thank you both. I mean, I 100% agree with everything. It really is just so important. Let's go on to our next question. How have you overcome barriers in the tech workplace, and what can others learn from that? Daphne, do you want to kick off with this one?
Sure. As we said, the barriers, it's almost as if that's inevitable. They will come by nature of us being women, and then women of color. We have the biases that we have to face, and, stereotypes and what have you. In this particular space. And with me, I had to, within myself, have my confidence always on point, building it up, even when you walk into the areas where you have those that are questioning your skills, your qualifications, Even when you have the microaggressions that may come along in the workplace, you have to stay tapped into your confidence, knowing what you know and what you bring to the table. You have to keep that within self, because that will then help you build your voice and not cower down and not temper your voice and not speak up and take the opportunities. And even when the opportunities aren't always given, you still show up, you speak up. And those are the things that I had to always do. I had to always be present. I always had to be willing to speak and to show that I am capable. I have the skills, I have the abilities, I have what you need um, to move this project along, to move this program along. It was always that thing that you had to do, and seek the support of others that are around you. Look for the mentors, look for those who can speak to you and empower you to and motivate you, and give you those tips and guidances to navigate this space, because you need that type of support.
Definitely. I think that's some great insight. Just one real quick follow-up question. How do you find those people that can support you, and who are the right people to support you?
Those that are around you, those that when you go into a space and you hear what they know, you have to put forth an effort, because they won't always come to you, but you have to put your best foot forward to say, I am going to make myself known. I'm going to introduce myself. So you have to, even if you're an introvert like I am, and a lot of people in the tech industry seem to be introverts, but you have to step outside of that challenge to really go and meet those people. And don't just limit yourself to those that look like you. Be open to those that can, that are in spaces that you don't see yourself, because you want to be in that space. So how do I get there? Let me introduce myself to these people and to understand this area, so that I can bring myself and hopefully bring others into this space behind me.
That's such great advice. Thank you, Daphne. Tamika, what are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think mentorship is huge. Back in the day, I don't even think people thought about having mentors in the workplace, but it's so crucial. Like Daphne said, you have to go out and seek people, because they're not always going to be readily available, especially when you join a new company. You want to get involved in different areas where you have that connection with people, and build relationships, not just within your own group, but within other groups in the company, and just, get to know people, step outside the box, because you never know who you can meet and how they can benefit your life, your career, your relationships moving forward. So a lot of companies, I think, are playing bigger parts in that, and providing, mentorship programs for their employees, or liaisons for their employees, to help them navigate and, build their careers even more.
That is so true, that mentorship and, the support of companies is so impactful in our career building. And, for me too, like when I'm hearing the theme is that perseverance. We have to keep pushing, and we have to work harder and make ourselves, recognize, and making sure that we are self-advocating. And I think it's just, we have to be loud and proud. And I am all of that. And I used to apologize, and now I don't. And since I've stopped, I've actually seen my career grow. So I think it's really owning yourself and not doubting yourself. So amazing conversation.
Yeah.
And Tamika, you just mentioned something about kind of the support of our companies, which will lead to our final question that we have. How can affinity or ERG groups help support us in building our careers?
Yeah, affinity or ERG groups, they're like amazing. Prior to, I've said this, story a million times, but prior to our current company, Health Catalyst, I never heard of affinity groups before, or ERG groups, and I've worked for some major corporations. And so when I came here, I'm like, what is this? This is a thing. And I got pulled into to one of our affinity groups at Health Catalyst, which is called Shades, and I serve as vice chair and historian. And it's just an amazing group. Affinity groups, they're not like cliques or exclusive clubs. They're like extremely useful, in your career and helping in your community. They give you an outlet, where you can meet like-minded people and share similar experiences, and get involved in things that are going on in the company, help new employees and even current employees engage, which is so crucial, especially when you're working for a remote company like we do. We never see each other. It's so being able to communicate and have those outlets is impactful. And they help, they also help you in your career, because you're able to foster these meaningful relationships with your coworkers, able to build new skills, and even sometimes help influence product development. Like with Health Catalyst, we're in health analytic company, and we're in that health analytics space. So people of color, or just in these diverse groups, bring tremendous value to product development, particularly when it comes to helping, healthcare organizations and systems with the analytic tools to help them conquer inequities and racial disparities, that have become so prevalent, particularly since COVID. We all know that COVID ripped that Band-Aid off of all these inequities and have brought so many issues to light. So having like diverse employees who have those personal experiences firsthand, that can provide that firsthand data, that can impact change and product development, is like golden, and can help give you that exposure to leadership. And even if your company doesn't formally have any affinity groups or ERG groups, you can suggest it. Because a lot of companies these days, they're DE&I is making an impact across the whole landscape. So being able to show your ideas and having leadership see your ideas reflected across products and brands is an awesome way to bolster your career. Give you that exposure and meet new people. So affinity groups are impactful, and I would encourage anyone to join them. Not just join, be engaged. Because anybody can join a group, and you're just to check a box, but you definitely want to be engaged, because they have a lot of great information. They can provide a lot of, like I said, more information for you to help you in not only your workplace, but in your personal life. Because I've made some really great, I've built some really great relationships, and this is probably the best group of people I've worked with. And being in this affinity group just helps move the needle. And we're creating more events and getting more team members engaged in things. So I'm very appreciative.
Thanks, Tamika. I totally agree. I mean, just building skills, meeting people, pushing for health equity are all great things, not just for ourselves and for the world, but also to advance our careers. Great thoughts. And Daphne, how about you?
I agree with everything Tamika said, and it's crucial to have those groups, because you bring support with each other. You're able to be sounding boards and things of that nature just within the internal groups, with your shared challenges, with advice. This is what I did to get to the next level. What can I do? So you have that internal support and mentorship just within that group. And as well as, Tamika was mentioning, get the look up from leadership, these groups, because our organization has some type of employee resource groups, but we use them more for policy change. So they are barrier analysis working groups, where you come together to look and identify those triggers and barriers that's impeding people's growth, the opportunities that may be limited, that's coming from policies, rules, procedures, things of that nature. You're identifying that and bringing that forth, because these are the things that are affecting my particular community. So you bring that forth for leadership to make changes, and then they see that you're putting forth the effort to put that data, substantiated information in front of them, and that only makes the organization better. So when the leadership can see that you can help them improve the organization, that just gives more light to these types of groups. So, it's just almost as if it's unquestionable why you wouldn't have these types of groups within your organization, because it helps the members of the people that work there, as well as leadership and the organization as a whole.
And quick follow-up question for both of you, because I know a lot of our jobs are very demanding, and trying to build our career keeps us busy. So how do you find the time to be part of these affinity ERG groups, and why are they a priority to you?
Whew.
Sorry, I'm throwing you a curveball.
No, I'm just saying, because I think you make time for what is important to you. You know, like you said, we are all busy. And I think if you're passionate about it, if you're passionate about this space, you'll make time. And we have a great affinity group like Shades, and there's several affinity groups at our company. And we're always trying to come up with events and webinars and different things to keep people engaged, because the topic is so important. So I'll make time to contribute as much as I can. And like I said, other people in the company, you'd want to keep people engaged, and a lot of other team members may not even know you exist. So for that reason, you want to remain prevalent and just get your voice out there, and pull in those people that you can build relationships with. Because we, like you said, our lives are crazy, but just it doesn't take that much time to just an hour out of your day or hour out of your week to engage and help push that needle.
Yes, ditto to what Tamika said. It's it's the passion, it's the knowing that we want to advance our own communities and those that are also underrepresented or marginalized in some way. We want that. We want all of us to be able to have those opportunities to grow and succeed and progress within our organizations. And whatever we can do to do that, we'll make time for that. So yes, it's that reason.
Thank you for that. I think you both just reinvigorated me, because I get so lost in my day-to-day sometimes that I forget, the importance and the impact, and that I really need to make the time for it. So thank you for that. Just wrapping up, a lot of things that I'm hearing is just having confidence. It helps you build confidence, networking, just advocating for each other, and that empowerment to lift each other up and lift ourselves up. So this has been really, really great, and I appreciate you. I just appreciate you. I think we have a couple of questions from the audience, if you two are ready to take some questions.
Yeah, sure.
Great. So one of the questions, can you give examples of successful campaigns to advance women that have worked?
I just think things like this, just being mindful. There's all types of events like out there. I've worked with not Women to Watch. The Women to Watch Summit is new, but I've in the past worked with women of color, the Women of Color in STEM conference, as well as BEA, and just being exposed to those two conferences, you meet all types of people. And being able to volunteer as panelists or moderators, that helps so much, especially with women, and bringing our voices to the table and participating in impactful sessions about women and about other areas that impact our lives. I'm not sure if that's, those are not necessarily campaigns within our company, but these are things that you can get involved with that will, help women in the industry.
Yes, and to add to that, I'll say I would think formal mentorship programs within the organization, where people are more encouraged, leaders are more encouraged to gain mentors, and you find mentees. And with that, we know the importance and the difference between mentorship and sponsorship. And when you gain these mentors, you can develop a relationship where you can get a sponsor who can mention your name when you're not in the room, who can say, hey, this is an opportunity that I think Daphne should get. She's ready, she's able to do it. So just that whole system of having a formal mentorship program, even though we know it works great when it's organic, but sometimes we need something to kind of propel it and move it forward. So that makes people more open to becoming mentors and having a program where you can match yourself when you don't feel so inclined to reach out either one way or the other and build those strong relationships. And that can, help women with more knowledge about how to do, what to do to advance and to move forward. And in that, you have those opportunities at times to gain a sponsor who can help you propel forward.
Thank you for that. I completely agree. And to me, like it's, kind of diverting a little bit from campaign, but it's work that we do every day. When we're in meetings, let's advocate for each other. Let's make sure that all the women in that meeting are heard. When we're speaking, if you're in a leadership role and there's a position that's coming up within the leadership role, submitting names of other women that can do the job. And sometimes it's just calling out leadership when they don't represent us and letting them know, because a lot of times it's not coming from a place of, they're not doing it on purpose. They're just unaware, or they need to be educated. So I think it's that daily campaign that we have to do for each other that will really help. Great. And I think we have another question for Miss Brooks. How have you navigated the obstacles while working for the Air Force? Oh, great question.
I want to know too.
Okay. Yes, I have worked for the Air Force for a number of years. Those things that I mentioned in the beginning, just, having that internal confidence that you're having to always build within yourself when you walk into the room, because you may be the only one. There was a point in time when I was working and was the only female. And oh, by the way, I may have been the only Black female in the room, so when a question is asked, you always have the answer. You're stepping up, you're raising your hand, you're calling things out. So I have built a reputation of being, someone who has the skills, even if they were questioned. And you push back on those who challenge you. You just have to have that within you. And that's, within the organization I've worked in, any organization, you have to be willing to push back in a way that, you maintain your professionalism, but the point is made that I'm here and I'm supposed to be here. And that is what you have to constantly maintain as you move forward, as you move about, because those obstacles will come. And I think those are the biggest ones when your skills are questioned, and when you have those type of things that come forth because of the nature of technology, working in STEM environment, you have those things particularly question your skills and knowledge.
Thank you for that. I know, you said something about pushing back and productively pushing back, and it's such a hard skill, but it's such an important one. So I'm glad that you touched on that. Thank you. And I believe we have one more question. What are the benefits of joining ERGs?
I think one of the big things is just that support group. It builds support. And then you're able to have a collective, and it has to be productive. It can't be, just a place where you vent and you complain. It's a place for that. It is a space for that, where you have to vent. But it's like, so what are we going to do about it? Who else is experiencing this? Can we find information where we can substantiate this and somehow bring it forth to leadership? How can we as a collective, because a group is more powerful and a louder voice than an individual. So when you come together as a collective, your efforts can be more powerful in making change.
Thanks, Daphne. Tamika, any thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah, that's so true. ERGs, they're a huge resource, networking and, community and just being involved. And like Daphne said, as a group, you're way more powerful than by yourself. And the fact is, companies need these groups. We are a diverse world. We're a diverse, these companies, we have diversity all through the companies, and you need those voices and that support system to help you, push things not only for yourself, but, to inspire change, within your company, and to give you the resources to advance your career and to network and to connect with people that you may not even have exposure to, because, at Health Catalyst, I work in a very small group. And, as far as my work, and I would have never even known about half the people that I've met just because I'm now part of Shades. So they're very beneficial. And, I have that exposure to leadership to where we can pose questions that, other team members may be hesitant to ask. So it's powerful, power in numbers. So, and I just would encourage anyone in any company, if you don't have it, ask leadership about it and just join, be engaged. And, it definitely can change a lot for people to join these groups.
Completely agree with all that in so many different ways. Well, thank you both. I know we have to wrap up. I'm sure we could talk about this for hours. So I appreciate you taking the time to join us today and to talk through these different barriers that Black and Latinx women feel through their careers, and really pushing that empowerment to grow in the career. And thank you, participants, for joining us as well on such an important topic. And we know you will do great things, own who you are, and advocate for yourself. Hope you enjoy the rest of the summit and have a great weekend.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Daphne.
Thank you all.
Calling all future STEM pioneers, leaders, and career champions. Join us on every second Saturday of the month for the BEA Career Day. BEA STEM Career Day is all about creating opportunities for students to venture into the world of STEM through the eyes of professionals. You'll meet mentors and presenters that will give you a sneak peek into the many options available to you in the field of STEM. Hosted by teen ambassadors, you'll find yourself among inspiring peers just like yourself that are aiming high for their future. To take part in the BEA STEM Career Day on Zoom, visit fullstemahead.us and register for the next session. Again, that's fullstemahead.us. BEA, becoming everything you are.
A world of careers unleashed. You can get it at BEA. Become everything you are.
So why be a part? If you're looking to improve your skill set, then our conferences are where you need to be. In today's world, people need training more than ever, even if it is a little refresher. And this is the place to learn. These are career-changing events that enrich your life both professionally and personally. If you're a student who is in college looking to graduate and want to find out what it's like to be a new professional, this is the place to be. You're going to learn from new professionals. You're going to be sitting right next to one of them. They need to tweak their skills. They're still learning. Sitting next to them is going to be a middle manager, someone who needs a little refresher on how do I deal with employees? How do I help them? How do I make them better employees? And last but not least, the person on that row is going to be the CEO of the next Fortune 500 organization, because they want to find the hungry employees and hire that person. So who should come to our seminars? Pretty much everyone.
Welcome back to the Women to Watch Summit. You've made it back just in time for the I Got Your Back session. We all know it takes a village, and today we'll be discussing how women can support other women in the executive level to increase self-confidence and experience more career satisfaction. Our moderator, Christine Burkhead, CEO of promising integrations consulting firm, will be joined by Sandhya Christian, Director of Business Integration at Huntington Ingalls Industries, and Janice Ferrer-Samani, Managing Director at FSG LLC. Remember to stay engaged using the QR code in the top corner and chat options. Leave comments, questions, and even words of support as we continue through today's program. Now, let's get started with the I Got Your Back session.
Hey guys, how are you?
Wonderful. How are you? Good to see you.
Awesome. So happy to see everyone. Hey guys, thank you so much for hanging out and watching us here. And I want to say we have a lot of information to share with you today. Of course, I am being joined by Sandhya. She is the Director of Business and Integration at, what is that? Is that Hill Inglass? I always want to make it Spanish, Latino. Is that wrong, Sandhya, if I do that?
It's HII, Ingalls Division.
I want to make it Latino all the time. And of course, Janice, listen, Samani, I just want to say, what company do you want me to mention? Because, you know, what company do you want me to mention?
FSG is great.
All right, so we're talking about FSG. Ladies, I'm going to tell you, we have a wealth of knowledge between the three of us, and we're hoping to share some of that information with you. Okay. Hey, guys, if you can allow me to share my PowerPoint screen. Thank you so much. And we're going to go ahead and get started for you. So listen, guys, welcome. I am the moderator for I Got Your Back, Women Sponsoring Women and Supporting More Women at the Executive Level. When we have this conversation, I wanted to make sure we shared some data with you. Fortune 500 minority CEOs and board members, 11.8% of board seats in 2020 went to minority men and 5.7% went to minority women. The number of Black CEOs is at an all-time high. Isn't that amazing? With just basically less than 1% of the companies utilizing minorities as CEOs or board members. That might be some question for cause. And we're going to talk about how each of us can start climbing that mountain so we can make it to the top. Because why? The minority perspective is basically needed in this day and age. Why? Our conversation today is an example of why that is important. The soundness of solidity and accompanies the progression of women are a force to be reckoned with. The journey for women climbing the executive leadership ladder, we already know it's an uphill battle, compounded with so many different ideas and different discussions about how you can make that movement. And the essential leaders to help them permeate the leadership realm is important for you to look at how you can work with other people. Start looking for mentors and sponsors to support you on your journey and speak up. Don't be afraid to do that. So what does that mean to continue your role as you continue to grow? Well, ladies, that's what we're going to talk about today. We want to explore the actions and attitude expressed towards women in the workplace, examine common concerns and challenges for women in the corporate world, and identify ways to allocate and sponsor supporters in the workplace for you, in and outside of work. And then discuss the methods for building a diverse, supportive workplace that includes diversity and inclusion and initiatives. So ladies, let's get ready. Our presentation talking points is, what does it mean to have another woman's back? What are some of the challenges women face in the workplace? What is important to have a mentor and sponsor in your workplace? And how to handle challenges when you have the experience and credentials in pursuing management or an executive role. So you already know our panelists, but we want to make sure you don't forget us. So when you review this presentation, if you have any follow-up questions, you can always find us on LinkedIn, and we'll be happy to answer any of your questions for you at any time. So first question, what does it mean to have other women's back as they make their way into senior roles? Sandhya?
Thank you so much, Christine, and good morning to everyone. It's good to be a part of this panel of prestigious women and women who have knowledge about the workforce and in corporate America. What it means to have another woman's back in the workplace is that when we look around, and Christine talked about some of the statistics about CEOs and upper management at the executive level, it means that you don't have to be the only one in the room. It means that when you have reached that point where you are in that executive realm and you're sitting around the table and decisions are being made about individuals and their careers and the succession planning, the best thing that we can do is bring others along, lift them up, mentor individuals, look at individuals who are in the organization, particularly those who may be at a disadvantage, because when you look around the room, it's probably typically going to be not many people of color or minorities around the table. So the key is to reach back and get those individuals that you know have the knowledge, skills, and abilities that can also be around the table. Don't be afraid to do that someone's going to take your seat. A lot of times as women, we feel we have to be the only one, but that is not the case. The more, the better. And that's what this is all about today. When you have another woman's back, then you as an individual can feel good about the fact that, hey, I brought somebody along, and that person should do the same. Thank you, Christine, for the question.
You're welcome. You know, I really appreciate your input because sometimes we get to the level we're at, and trust and believe, ladies and gentlemen who are watching, we're pretty busy ladies. So sometimes even we have to be reminded that we have to look back and support other people as they go through their journey of establishing themselves in the workplace. So Janice, this question is for you. What are some of the challenges for women in the workplace?
Oh, where do we start? It starts first thing in the morning. When we are preparing family, getting everyone organized, preparing for the day, and let alone for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that's where it starts. But then when we go into the workplace, we think about those natural things that all of us have experienced, whether it be gender bias, whether it be the lack of representation, that balance of work and family, which I call life work integration, as well as the harassment or the microaggressions and discrimination that actually takes place. So I see women having the opportunity to actually have a seat at the table. And if the table doesn't exist, I say, as an engineer, build the table, because we can actually gain traction and know, even at the C level, that we can be mentored, we can be sponsors, and we can have sponsors. So those connections are very, very important. And there's a difference between the mentoring and the sponsorship. Quite often, we want to have those mentors that can take us to the next level, that know something that we don't know, that we can bounce ideas off of. And as a sponsor, we want to be talked about when we're not in the room. We want people to have those ideas and concepts of bringing us in to an organization, a board seat, an opportunity internally in our organizations to move forward. And then we also want to think about keeping in mind to sponsor others. That is also a challenge quite often in the workplace. Being that advocate for other women and women in leadership positions in the organization. Networking with other women. It's okay to network. And I have mentees from in several international countries and companies. And many of them have difficulty, if it's not part of their culture, to actually network. So I have been working with them diligently on developing actual tactics to know, at least get 3 names. When you go to a meeting, get 3 names of people. Push yourself maybe to get 5 if you've gone quickly through those 3. And actually
I think those are great.
And yeah, completely follow up with those people and ask them questions, and then build your actual culture, a supportive culture for yourself and for your company.
That's
You know,
awesome.
Dr. Smiley, those are really great advice, because I think a lot of times we go to these events, we just scan everybody's QR code and we don't follow up. So I do want to ask both of you, when women have that seat at the table, how do they support others and bring them along? What are some of the suggestions that you would have? So Nadia, I'll start with you. So Nadia, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll start with you.
Somebody. I'm sorry.
Yep.
So one of the things that when you're looking to support, and we should all do that, we should not have a crab in the bucket mentality. We should want to help and support others. The first thing, and this is going to be nothing different from what Samani has just said about the networking. You need to, some of the things that I do personally is I do lunch and learn sessions to talk about, what does emotional intelligence look like? What does a mentor versus a sponsor look like? What should you know about networking in the workplace? Because a lot of times individuals, when they come in the workplace, they just think, I just need to keep my head down and I need to do my job. Well, that's good to learn your job, but as you look over the horizon and you start to think about what you want your career to look like, you don't want to say an individual contributor your whole career. You want to move up the ladder. So for us who are actually have the seat at the table, we have to speak up. We have to be frank about those individuals, and we have to be intentional about speaking positive thoughts and words across to our peers about individuals who they don't know anything about. Because a lot of times I can be in a meeting and I'll mention a person's name and I just get this blank stare. And I'm going, well, have you not thought about this person? This person has this. They have this. You start naming off those things. So being intentional when you're supporting one another, that's how you bring folks along, because you have to know who those individuals are. You have to kind of write it on your board, like Christine has back there. She has a lot of stuff on her board. You have to write those names and say, hey, the next time I'm in a leadership development council meeting, I'm going to speak up, and this person is good. We're going to bring this person in. We're going to bring this person into the staff meeting. We're going to bring this person into to the realm of being able to present at one point in time. So that's how you bring folks along, is putting their name out there and giving them those opportunities.
That's great. And I love the way that you incorporated being intentional about it, because when you're sitting at the table, you have all these people who work around you connected with, and they are valuable. But sometimes you need to identify their greatness that they don't even know that's there. So I love that about you as a leader. So Dr. Samani, what are you doing over there? Because I know you're all around the world, and how are you doing this?
Well, I shared being able to encourage others through action. That intentionality is key. So let's put it into action. Knowing that you would have someone in your particular industry that you need to connect with, that you could actually build your career with. You would have someone outside of your career or outside of your industry that you can actually learn from. Being that transformative leader, to know that, to stay curious, to be agile, to learn and to grow. And then you would want someone that perhaps is above you or in a position that you really are aspiring to, whether it be a board position or a larger company. And if you're an SME, then maybe it's international. Maybe you want to take your business global or more global, or identify other regions that you want to expand in. So I highly recommend those types of take risks, opportunities. Thank you.
I love that. I think, as a leader, when you work within a company, I'll just give you guys something really quick. All that behind me is what's in my head, is my strategic plan or approach to programming and things that I want to do. And I feel that one of the things that leaders we fail at is sharing our ideas and concepts, because we want to be seen as the authoritative or the expert or the person. And for me, I always tell my team, I'm no greater than anybody on the team. You guys make me great. I just happen to be the spokesperson for the team. So I intentionally share, because behind me, everybody comes in and writes notes on how to make that concept better. And so I always tell people, I'm not the smartest person in the room. I'm just a person speaking for the smart people in the room. That's it. And that's the way I see myself as a leader. So when we talk about why is it important to have a sponsor supporter in the workplace, and what is the difference, Dr. Christine, you kind of hit on that. So why is it important for us to have a sponsor and our supporter, and how do people know the difference between the two?
So, and great question. So I'm going to go back to a mentor versus a sponsor and a champion. A mentor is someone that's, you probably scheduling a meeting with them. they're hearing everything about you. They know, they've seen your resume. They know those, what I would call topical things, and they kind of deal with the every day-to-day issues that you might have. But when you have a sponsor, that sponsor is typically someone who is above you, and sometimes it's one or two or three levels. And when you have gotten to that point where you've gotten someone that can sponsor you, and they're sitting at the table, they can speak for you. They speak on your behalf as an individual to say, I have seen this person. They've watched you. They don't sponsor you just because you want them to sponsor you. You have shown forth the professionalism, that you have the knowledge, skills, and abilities. So those individuals are going to bat for you, in other words. And when we talk about a champion, that person is your cheerleader. They pulling out the pom poms, and they are rah-rahing for you. And they're saying, hey, you. They stand up at the executive table saying, hey, you need to if you need a job done, get this person. Mm-hmm. That's your champion. That's your cheerleader, the person that's cheering you on. We all need what I would call a board of directors. We need individuals around that can support us. You need the mentor, you need the sponsor, you need the champion, you need the peer, you need the colleague, you need that board of directors that will round you out to make you the professional that you're trying to become. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Christine.
You're welcome. And Dr. Samani, what are your thoughts?
Well, I shared the sponsorship, and Dr. Sandia, she just dove right in and just elaborated even more with that board of directors. I love that idea. I think that is amazing. It's an opportunity where you can actually have people come alongside you. I was at a conference all this week, and someone that I had known and that knows my work and knows my company, she actually stayed with me because I didn't bring anyone from my team to this particular conference. And she was with me 2 evenings, and she was that champion. She was actually talking with other people that were in the room that I couldn't get to right away. Mm-hmm. And then she brought certain people to me or brought me to them. And she was my rah-rah. She was my cheerleader. And it was pretty amazing because they're actually able, you want to, as you were speaking, I was thinking, I stopped at the level of saying the actual sponsor. So I somewhat see that as an opportunity to have a dual personality, if you will, to work both sides of the room, be that cheerleader, but yet be able to dive in deeper to the relationship that you have with them and be able to share with others exactly what you can do, what your abilities are, and what your capabilities are, and to go from there.
You know what, Dr. Money, I love that. And just to give you guys an example, I noticed there was a guy on my team who was identified by title as a manager, right? And I kept saying there's something more to this guy. And the more I talked to him, I think he thought I was really trying to figure out what not to do with him, but I was trying to figure out what to do with him. He ended up designing my digital dashboard in 24 hours based on stickies that I had on my wall. He was looking at my wall, and he went home and created it in a digital dashboard. And now it's an interactive dashboard for over 600,000 people to see how we're allocating funding to support digital equity inclusion in City of Detroit. So I can only tell
that
you
is amazing.
That is amazing. And see what happens when you think out loud and everybody can see it. So now I'm transferring him over to data because this guy is a whiz. And I didn't know he was a whiz.
What you're also doing, Christine, what you did for him is you kind of brought him out of the darkness into the light where he can be visible, right? And that's part of that intentional.
Yeah. And also, yes, and also you were transparent.
Yes.
And that's what I was referring to as far as that relationship. You allowed yourself to be transparent and to put your thoughts out so he could actually glean and be able to transfer that and transform that, if you will, into context.
That's called transformational leadership. Going back to Dr. Samani, folks, you got to look for those transformative leaders. And just to give you just a quick response to this, has there ever been a time when you felt like your work experience, credentials, and leadership and ability were questioned in the workplace? Ladies, you have 30 seconds. And I know you guys got some doozies, but you got 30 seconds. Give it up. I'm starting with you, Dr. Christian. Go ahead.
I'll be very quick. Yes, and it's not enough time. So stop laughing. You're wasting my time. But seriously, this has happened so many times in my career. Not everybody is ready for strong personalities, particularly strong personalities that women have. So I have been questioned on several different levels, but I will tell you that you just need to know when it's your time to speak.
Love it.
And for me, every time is not the time to speak, but I'm just a firm believer that your gift and your abilities, they make room for you.
I'll start by a story. I was at a conference, and actually I had spoken at that conference, and in the evening there was a networking group. So someone had said, well, you need to meet this person. So we approached that person and I was introduced. And so he began to talk about his technology. His question to me was, or statement actually was, let me break it down for you so you would understand.
I love it.
And I said,
oh my,
I can take this two ways. Either I can stand there and basically act as though I needed to be told and taught about a technology I was familiar with, or I can actually say to him, I'm very familiar with the technology. Let me share a bit about what we do.
I love your approach.
Yeah. I took the latter.
You know, one of my,
and I shared.
And one of, I'll just be very quick with this. One of my things is, you know, when people try to minimize you in that moment, because of whatever, the outer appearance, whatever that may be, my thing is, if you're speaking the King's English, trust me, I can understand.
Thank you, ladies. I'm going to tell you, I love that. And folks, in closing, I just want to say the best way to climb the ladder is to be confident in yourself. Never stop improving yourself. Continued education is always the place to go. I can't even tell you, each one of us, I didn't have enough room to put down all of our credentials. All of us have multiple degrees, certifications, and things that we do in order to be experts in our field. So trust and believe, continue to go to school. Folks, we want to answer your questions. We have approximately 5 minutes remaining. How can we answer your questions? You got some top tier ladies here. Oh, what is it? Sydney Johns. I love it. Do you all have recommendations? Do you all have recommendations to connect with people who are hard to work with and win over because they are difficult and do not immediately accept you? Well, I'm just going to tell you real quick in 2 seconds. Find out what their passion is. Tune into their passion. It may take you 30 to 60 days. Study their passion. Come up with a great idea on something they want to execute or do, but they really are missing a few things. If you can plug into what they love, you can win them over. Because I'm one of those people. You're talking to me right now.
And one of the things, I had an individual that was so hard to read when I was in business development. And what I did is I actually studied him for like 30 days. And I found out something he was missing that he needed. And see, when you find out what a person needs and you go solve that problem for them, trust me, you'll win them over very quickly.
So the bottom line is relationship. Build a relationship, because as transformative leaders, as C-level leaders, you want to build strong relationships. Take that time to get to know them.
Wow. Any other questions? How would someone cultivate a sponsor versus a mentor relationship? And what does the difference look like if there is one? How do you cultivate a sponsor?
Yes, very easy. Very easy. It's about relationships. It's about, number one, you could, I'll actually get on their calendar as a reoccurring meeting, and it can be 15 minutes. I remember early on in my academic career, I had professors that I would just meet with for 15 minutes, just buy them a cup of coffee, something of that nature. You could also set up luncheon meetings with individuals and find out what's their best mode of communication. So you could text them, you could give them a call and just build that relationship. That is a sponsor level relationship. truly getting to know them. Now, the difference between mentoring very quickly is more of a coaching type position, whereby you want to pose open-ended questions so you can actually find out more of what the needs are of that person, hence what more of what your needs are if you're being the mentee, so you can actually have that supported. I'm actually a mentor for several people, a lot around the world, actually. And that's some of that coaching that we lend to open-ended questions.
I think Dr. Samani said it best. Thank you.
You did, Dr. Samani. You're always on top of it. All I got to say is if you guys get her to be your mentor, that song, All Around the World and yeah, that's her right there. That's Carmen Sandiego. Like, seriously, real world in the tech space. Folks, I can only tell you this in closing. When you think about looking for your way to make it to the levels that we've made it to, there is no roadmap. You've got to figure out your route, but definitely you need to start surrounding yourself with women who have made it to that point and always open to sharing that information. One of the things that I can honestly tell you, I can pick up the phone and call either one of these women. And as busy as our days are, we may not call you, but we will text you the answer or a link to something that will help you. Yeah. Folks, stay focused on who you are, always understand your greatness. And Dr. Christian said it best. You know, you have to understand your space and where you're at. And like Dr. Samani said, don't start taking these phone numbers and not follow up with these people. Don't be that person at the conference. Make a day that you sit down, create a generic response. Great to meet you. I look forward to following up with you. Be sure to do that, because why? It's the only way that you can end up being a woman to watch, honey, is to make sure you make the plan so you can be the executive that you want to be. I want to thank everybody. For more information about this session and the women to watch, go to www.intouchccgmag.com, or you can reach any of us on our LinkedIn. Thank you so much for joining us at this session.
Follow your passions. If you like stuff, just do it, and do it really well, right?
Could you tell us a time when you failed at something and what you learned about being resilient and getting up after being knocked down?
Failure can sometimes be the biggest teacher for you, because it teaches you exactly what you're not supposed to do. But somehow, as we get older, we equate failure with the end. And guess what? Failure is literally just the beginning. So again, failure is an amazing tool that, for whatever reason, we've worked out of the toolbox of education, that I think we should figure out ways to bring it back.
Tell us about a time when you failed at something, and what did you learn from it?
It's a great question. So, Math 425, linear algebraic equations. No one has any reason to know that, but it was absolutely the most difficult class I've ever taken. And I had heard and I had mentors that told me, hey, this is a difficult class. You're going to need to, you're really going to need to prepare for this. It's going to take something extra. And I knew everything in college. You don't have to tell me. I'm smart. I got this. Don't worry about it. And I failed Math 425. And what it taught me, listen to those that have come before you. They're passing knowledge. Learn from it. Don't make the same mistakes that the people that have come before you have made. 80% of those students that use tutors are getting A's and B's in the class. I had a D in the class, and I didn't go to a tutor because I felt ashamed to say I didn't know what was going on.
Welcome back. We have a fascinating talk coming up on the metaverse, its potential impact on our lives, and how we can prepare for it. Our speaker, Tyrone Taborn, is the CEO and CCO of Career Communications Group and author of MetaQuake USA. He's a technology expert and futurist who will be exploring this topic in depth. First, a little video, and then we'll welcome Tyrone Taborn.
It struck me a long time ago that if we're able to say kids act a certain way because of the negative influences in their lives, the role models that they see on the street corner and places like that, if we're willing to buy into negativity, then why can't we buy into positive things? We've built over the years a strong community of at least 30,000 active people that we can reach out to any given day. And why do they do this? Because they feel that being part of this community, they are part of something greater, and that they're surrounded by people who are like-minded like them. We are where we are because of the progress of those who came before us, but we're not obligated to those who came before us. We're obligated where we are now and how we move forward. And how do we do this with integrity? How do we do this with a passion?
What if you could build your own city? A place where every child can find nurturing people to help them achieve their full potential. A place where every adult can access job training support. Where health education is abundant. Where social justice ruled the land. A place without limitations. Welcome. You have arrived at STEM City USA. It is what every city should be. A safe and trusted community where you can find people and resources to help you become everything you are and beyond. STEM City is unlike anything you have ever experienced. It is a digital twin of the world around you, only better. STEM City is about energy and soul renewal. It is more than a digital world. You can almost feel the power of live cultural events, music, and theater. STEM City promises a better future for children with caring mentors and hands-on activities with dedicated tutors to support our youth. STEM City is your passport to a healthy lifestyle with weekly events addressing our community's many issues. STEM City is your financial well-being with helpful information on wealth management, career advancement, job training, and so much more. STEM City is the community you deserve. It is the city where your dreams can come true. STEM City USA, a place in the sky that is accessible to all who reach for the stars.
Hello, I'm Tyrone Taborn, and welcome to the future. In the next few moments and minutes that I have with you, I would like to help explain what is the metaverse. I like to touch on things like the blockchain, but more importantly, I want to talk about what is the most transformational piece of technology that we have seen probably in many of your lifetimes, but certainly since we had the semiconductor and we were able to do the microchips back in 1958, 59, that allowed and is allowing for many of these transformational technologies that we see now to be built up on. The one I'm going to talk about today and what you're actually on is a metaverse platform. It is a 2D low-res metaverse platform that will most likely be the leader in how we consume the metaverse. Now, you may think about that for a second. Think about, if you remember, VHS versus beta and those kind of debates that took place. but in a very serious way. This is one of the functional metaverses in the United States of America, and it started on the Women of Color platform in which you are here today. Our other metaverses include the BEA, Black Engineer of the Year, and STEM City, which you see behind me. So let me talk to you for a second about what is a metaverse and what does it mean and how will this really impact you, your company, and particularly why this is so transformational. I mean, this excites me to no end. I'm going to tell you a lot that you might think would take forever to do, but keep this in mind as well. You know, the birth of Bitcoin was only a 10-page email. Basically a 10-page paper. And the first part of Bitcoin was really nothing more than an email. So the fundamental concept and the technology that existed even before Bitcoin and what Bitcoin was built on already existed, and that was called blockchain. More about that later. What is a metaverse? Well, metaverses have always been around us as long as we've had a community. And wherever communities existed, there was some type of metaverse. Metaverses are progressive and the technology may change, but the fundamentals of the metaverse have always been with us from the beginning of time. Here we are, though, at this moment. And I give 4, possibly 5 pieces that identify what is a metaverse. Without these elements, at least 4 of the 5 elements I'm about to give you, the metaverse, it is not a metaverse. One, more importantly, is having digital agency over yourself. On this platform right now, you can leave, you can go other places, you can engage in dialogue, you can jump over from this seminar and go to the Black Engineer or STEM City and engage with people real time. The ability to not be in a static environment, but a dynamic environment is a critical part of what we call digital agencies. And that means that you make the decision of what your experience will be with other people. These are not solo experiences. These are not experiences that you would have from a static website, but these are very interactive pieces. You, in fact, could engage in a dialogue right now. As you and I are talking, you can go to our chat that exists, and you can chat with one another in the metaverse, and you can also chat with each other on the other ways in which we're delivering this platform, such as in YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. So the first part of a metaverse is the digital agency. Tied into digital agency, very importantly, is that you control your digital information. And that is something that we look at further down the line. Who owns your data? You should. And in the metaverse, that's what's going to happen. And as I talk about blockchain, you will understand why the metaverse cannot ultimately exist fully without a blockchain, without sitting on top of a blockchain. Number 2, what is a metaverse? Collaboration. Without collaboration, there is no metaverse. The metaverse means that a bunch of us can come in together. So I'd like to give this perfect example. What if you are sitting in a movie theater and you're watching the movie? Well, that's the web. You're sitting there, somebody's constructed this experience for you, and you simply sit back and watch it. Now, what if you can get up and go into that movie? Still, you have no control, but you're inside of that movie. Well, those are things like augmented reality, 3D, in some cases, virtual reality. That's that kind of experience. Now, what happens if everyone else in that theater can get up, go into the movie as well, talk to you and your friends that are within that experience can actually write the movie in real time, create new experiences, be able to work together and collaborate together. The collaboration is the second most important part of what is a metaverse. So that leads me to the third piece of what is a metaverse. A metaverse is a living piece. It is a living being. Now, because we can collaborate, that means, guess what? We can create digital content. The platform you came into changes based on the people who have come into that platform. Nobody knows what it's going to look like, but when we walk out of that platform, we have something a little bit different. For example, today, when we walk out of here, it was a blank canvas, but when we leave, and with your questions and with your participation, we have in fact created new content. And many of you out there are going to be laughing, say, that sounds a little bit like AI, or that sounds a little bit like machine learning. Yes, indeed. All of that is part of building on top of a metaverse and using that technology. The other part of it is a metaverse has two very important pieces. One, it's always there. It's there 7 days, 24 hours. You know that you don't have to go searching, that you can go in and have an experience within the metaverse. So those are four important things already, and I'll tell you the fifth in a second. Digital agency, collaboration, ability to create content, and the availability of the metaverse to be 24/7. Now, if you think about all of those, then you can look back and see some of the old technologies that existed, like the kids on the cell phones, and that fundamental impact that had on them, because those things had the four things that I just pointed out, right? So again, it's just based on the technology. The fifth part of the metaverse, of the new metaverse, is the ability to have an economy behind it. And that's where we come to blockchain and other pieces, that the metaverse can be extremely open and available to people. So if you have four of those five, very likely you have a metaverse platform in front of you. So why is this so important? Well, one of the reasons is that the metaverse and what we call digital twins that will sit on top of a metaverse. So a metaverse ultimately sits on top of blockchain, or it is designed to sit on top of a blockchain. And then that metaverse is really like the infrastructure, the foundation. It's what you put into it. The city that you see behind me now could be a school. It could be your corporate headquarters. It could be your church. It could be anything that physically exists in the real world being digitized and brought on to a platform in which we call a digital twin. Because of that, the ability to have that digital twin and all of these other pieces that I've just mentioned, the reason for that is because we have moved into a whole part of technology where we have decentralized, and we're beginning to decentralize data. If you think about this in your everyday life, and you think about decentralization of data, and you think about all of the hacks that take place and how, your password is being linked, the people who own data are the folks who own the servers. That most data is really protected by the hardware. And it is the ownership of the hardware that really has the ownership over data. Now, there's a lot in between that, but that is a very simple part of what is centralization and decentralization. When you use your credit card, it goes to a number of companies that will process that information, your bank, your credit card company. but they own the data once you use that credit card. They're in charge of that transaction. So you're paying at a restaurant, it goes through it goes through a server that's owned by the credit card processor, and then that money, that transaction is sent to that third party, which is the restaurant. And you may be looking at your waiter or waitress as they swipe your card. That all happens in a nanosecond, in a quick moment. But that data is sitting at Bank of America or American Express. So when you have a data breach, it's at the hardware level. That's called centralization of data, where all of this data is stored. The decentralization of data made possible through blockchain means that we're protecting those individual pieces of data, and they're spread throughout the globe, throughout the world. So now that data is owned by you. By decentralization of the data, it no longer simply sits on that one server. It sits on millions of computers across the place, and it's broken down into blocks. This seminar is not about blockchain, but it gives you an idea of what we mean by decentralization of data. In other words, if you own your data right then, you can exchange, you can have that same credit card transaction by using a digital wallet, which is how we're going to control our physical data in the future, or through digital wallets. You will be able to transfer your data directly to that restaurant, immediately to that restaurant. Now we've changed the ability of security. Because of that, we don't have to worry as much about protecting these large mainframes, but we're protecting the data. We've gone from protecting the hardware to protecting the X and O's. That is what is causing this whole transformational technology and emerging technology that you have been seeing, called everything from digital twins, the industrial internet, to the metaverse. It all comes back down to this simple thing called blockchain, and that is what Bitcoin actually sits on. And that's why it took only 10 pages to write everything about Bitcoin, because Bitcoin starts off in the original email saying, we're going to sit on top of the blockchain. Now, what does that mean for your company? And what does that mean for you? And what does that mean as a MetaQuake? Well, let's look at this. If now you can actually own this building behind me, or you can own this city, because if you can own data, data now has value to the individual. And if that data is in your digital wallet, you are able to exchange that data and create value. And you may have heard of things like NFTs. These are tokens that are able to be exchanged. And a token can be anything. It's all just simply about data. It can be a picture. It can be one of the magazines. It can be a city. It can be anything, quite frankly, that you can now get an IP on. You can prove ownership. And if you can own data, you can sell data, and you've created a whole new economy. As a result of being able to create an economy, the underlying piece, another way of which we exchange value, we're able to build wealth. We're able to exchange for goods and services, which is what blockchain allows us to do. If you're able to do that, you're now able to create and recreate entirely new business opportunities that have never existed and could not exist solely in a metaverse platform. Sure, you could sell a book on great services like Amazon, wonderful services like Walmart, all of these companies that are great partners of ours. Of course, you can do that, but again, that was centralization. In the future, you will still use those companies, but you will also be able to become your own processor. You will be able to sell and conduct business and have wealth on your own because of these blockchain processes. On the corporate side, exactly the same thing is true. You will be able to use environments like the metaverse to actually set up a permanent corporate office in which you own, and you're able to control the use of it because you're protecting, again, the data, and you can track down individuals for copyright violations, IP violations. So the ability to track and own your data will make us more willing to share information over this kind of technology, which is still going to be web-based. So companies will find it very easy to set up HR offices to conduct even more research online, to increase collaboration to their stakeholders through these kind of systems. On the research side, if researchers, and we all know those of us in the academic areas, first to get papers published and how important that is, and the hesitation sometimes, even though we do share, that hesitation of, sharing on something as unsecured as the web, having the ability to track your research and control your research will actually increase the ability for us to collaborate with one another, because the threat of losing our data, losing control of that data, falls into the very first thing that I said, that the metaverse is all about. At the end of the day, it's also about protecting your digital information. Educationally, I believe that the metaverse is absolutely set up to be a better way in which to have an experience. Here at the Women to Watch conference, you came into an experience. You did not come into a Zoom meeting. You did not come into a webinar. You came into a full experience. You can play games right now on the platform. You can take a journey on the platform. Psychologically, the level of engagement and the ability to relate to your presence of where you are, that actually increases the ability of people to finish seminars and finish classes. We have found that when you do on demand, and many of us have done it, think about the last LinkedIn class you tried to take or anything that you've done on a seminar, and it's on demand, you download it, you listen to it. We have found that less than 20 to 30% of individuals actually ever complete those pieces. However, in these kind of immersive environments that we're looking at right now, that number of completion, that number of those of you who will stay on this seminar or my talk until it's over, jumps to 70%. We have actually validated that over the last 3 years, that once you're in this kind of environment, you actually stay there. So I've tried to tell you very quickly, what is the metaverse? Just take away, if nothing else from this, take away centralization versus decentralization of data. Let's talk about this being the most important transformational part of technology, not simply a progression of technology, but what we're doing and looking at right now is absolutely transformational. And the beauty of this is that everyone is truly starting at the same starting line. No one has figured this out yet. You have an opportunity right now to be a leader in your company, a thought leader in your company. You're not competing against millions of people who've already done the research. Everybody's trying to figure this out. And your thoughts, your intelligence, your contributions can make you one of the most sought after individuals in the world, because you are approaching this technology in its infancy. So what I like to do is open this up to questions. I'm sure I've got a ton of them. And before you walk away, I'm going to give you my email so that you can reach out to me later. It's publisher@ccgmag.com. publisher@ccgmag.com. And I'll be more than willing to engage and continue this subject that I have, that I am so committed to, and that I think is so important. The question is, if your workforce will be participating through the metaverse, have you set the rules of the road for working in virtual spaces? Absolutely. That's one of the biggest struggles right now. And I know there's going to be a lot of answers, a lot of challenges there. The metaverse, unlike a lot of the issues that we've had with just teleconferences, it requires active engagement. The metaverse actually truly requires active engagement, mental engagement. You can't walk away and come back later and pick up where you were in the middle of the movie. But I think there's going to be a lot of rules are going to be issues like privacy. It's going to be issues of harassment. That's a critical piece that we have to look at. How do you feel safe in the metaverse? I was in a virtual metaverse, or what they called a metaverse. It wasn't quite a true metaverse, but it was virtual, and it was a experience going on, and someone was being harassed, and one of the avatars came back and said, of all of the people you could come back as, you came into the metaverse as a jerk. So those are some of the things where we want to create. We want to make sure that diversity, respect, all of these things that we're working with. So yes, we have quite a bit of challenge, and that means D&I, diversity, equality, inclusion folks. You have even a bigger job in dealing with where technology is going. And I haven't even brought up artificial intelligence as part of this discussion, but it is a huge part of it. How are you evaluating what opportunities the metaverse may present your business? Wonderful question. Let's talk about one of the hottest ones that we need, and one that's most critical to our country right now: mental health. I don't think there's one person out there that feels a little bit safer today than we did before we went into the pandemic. I think that all of us feel that there's been a shift in society, that something has happened where it's okay to be a little bit rude. It's okay to care a little bit less about our fellow human beings. Not all of us, but many of us. And we see it in this mediated society of media. We see our leaders that we once thought were so great. We're seeing our heroes fall another step down. So mental health is a critical area that our nation needs a lot of healing on. As a result of the federal regulations that have loosened the issue of HIPAA, and insurance companies paying doctors and other healthcare professionals to have televideos and those kind of things. This metaverse that we have, that you see behind me, we have an entire group that was paid for by Boston Scientific. That was the first company that actually invested to help build the metaverse. So we hold things like weekly events on healthcare here in the metaverse. Now, if you were to take that to large number of healthcare professionals who are now able to scale up their services, and they're now able to reach more people because of this platform in which individuals or the users will feel a lot more comfortable simply than picking up a telephone and talking to a non-existent, or talking just to a person, but they can see a person, they can get out of the event as well. That is a huge growth area in healthcare. It's going to be a huge area, for example, in the legal field. How many people need to talk to an attorney for some basic things? Well, why not have a law office on the metaverse? Of course you can. What about government that have the Department of Motor Vehicles and all of these other services that many people do not know about? We call those distributed services that can sit on top of the metaverse. Government, people like the military. This is real important. How do we support our troops? How do we support the families? How do we provide more information and resources? The metaverse is a great place there. So any business that you can really think about, if it can be digitized, you can offer a lot of those services. And the last thing I want to say about this, because it's such a critical question, and I see my time is coming. They've already told me I exceeded my time. One of the most important parts, if you go for your physical every single year. Imagine your doctor sitting here, and this is all private. Imagine your doctor sitting there. You can pop in to the doctor's office. He can have, or she can have, all of her materials on different medical pieces just sitting there. So you can go in the office just to get basic information from in the lobby in the metaverse. But then the basic things that you usually have to get an appointment for, you simply need an antibiotic. You had to go into the doctor's office. You need your physical. Well, a lot of the things you do for your physical, you can do a lot of those if you're in relatively good health from home. You can take your blood pressure that ties right in through your watch into the metaverse, into your doctor's patient database. A lot of that stuff can be done not only in an event, but every single day. So you don't have to wait until you have a problem. Your doc is able to see where you're going. And then if that doc lays an AI on top of that, that's monitoring all of that data and kicking out a report, the doc knows where their attention should be really focused on the people who are in most critical need of these healthcare pieces. So those are the things that we're going to see. So absolutely, those are opportunities. Healthcare, big growth area. Education, big growth area. Any distributed service, big growth area. And that even comes, by the way, before we're talking retail. Before we're talking about Amazon and everybody else being on a metaverse, and obviously people like Facebook and other social media that will all be going in this direction in one form or another. So I like to thank you. They have that hook pulling me off the stage, but thank you so much for being part of, I think, one of the most important discussions and future, and how you can still get in at the very beginning and you can make a difference. That's what Women to Watch is all about.
Thank you, Tyrone Taborn, for that informative segment on the metaverse. Before we get started on our next session, I want to quickly remind you to please scan the QR code in the corner, or if you can't scan the QR code and you're joining us from a mobile device, you can simply use the chat option on whatever platform that you're using. Now, in vertical leadership, we're going to be examining methods for helping female employees grow and develop into new leaders. Our moderator, Edie Washington, is a leadership trainer, licensed counselor, and certified coach and consultant. She will be joined by Dr. Colonel Janice Carroll, Deputy Director of Diversity and Inclusion at the U.S. Air Force, and Colonel Princess Aturase, Equal Opportunity Program Manager at Medcom. Welcome.
Welcome, and thank you. Thank you so much, Jessica, for the introduction there. So we're all set to go. We have our mics live, right? Everyone here on here, have your mic ready to go. So hi, and welcome to our session. My name is Edie Washington, and it's such a pleasure to be here with you and all of us on the panel here. We're just ready, and we're looking forward to sharing with you. So during this session, we are going to talk about vertical leadership, right? So we're going to look at developing the next level of women leaders here. So overall, when you think of vertical leadership, it's important because it helps leaders become more effective and impactful in their roles while promoting greater personal growth and well-being too. So it's a very good topic to discuss, and it is very prevalent at times such as this. So the purpose of this session is for you, our attendees, everyone out there too. It's just for you to grasp an understanding of what vertical leadership is, and for you to gain an understanding of this topic through the lenses of, we have Colonel Princess Aturose and Dr. Colonel Janice Carroll and myself. So we'll do some sharing with you too and answer a few questions that I'm going to propose. And we're hoping to have an opportunity to poll or answer some of your questions as well. So what they're going to do is define that vertical leadership and then share some personal examples. If we just had this discussion without those examples, it could fall pretty flat. And we want to make sure that you are having an opportunity to see that application and some of the implications of what vertical leadership looks like. So it's about learning vertical leadership. It's going to help you, and it has the potential to help you improve your leadership skills and benefit both you at work as well as in your personal life. I mentioned that. So I have the two phenomenal and amazing and successful women to watch here with me today. So how about we go ahead and start with the introduction, and we'll go ahead and start with you, Colonel Princess Aturose, and then you all can carry on from here.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Washington. I'm Colonel Princess Aturose in the United States Army. I'm in the Medical Service Corps, and in the Medical Service Corps, I'm a human resource professional. So I'm currently holding 3 jobs right now. I'm the Director of HR for the MedCom. So all the HR activity that goes on comes through my office. I'm also the Equal Opportunity Director here, and I'm also the Director of Military Personnel. So I've been in the military for 27 years, all of my adult life, and I just love being a soldier. I love helping people. I love being a leader, and I'm not sure how much longer I'll be in the military. I can serve up to 30 years without asking for additional time, but I love being a soldier. But my most the thing that I'm most proud of is that I'm a mother. I have 2 boys that are 17 years old, juniors in high school, D1 football athletes. They have many opportunities to go to college anywhere in the world. So I'm excited about this upcoming year. But that's just a little bit about myself.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Colonel. And yes, please go right ahead, Dr. Colonel.
Hi, I'm Colonel Dr. Janice Carroll. I'm currently serving as the Deputy Director for Diversity and Inclusion for the Office of the Secretary of the Air Force at the Pentagon. I have served now 5 tours at the Pentagon, and I too have served my country in the Air Force my entire adult life. I've traveled the world. I've served in up to 20 locations. And much like Colonel Aturose mentioned, I too am a proud mother and now a grandmother as well. I hail from Houston, Texas, and I enjoy helping others, teaching others, and pushing others to be the best that they can be. So I'm honored to be a part of the panel today, and I will turn it back over to Ms. Washington to get into the questions. Thank you.
Yes, yes. And just to give them a little headliner about me as well, I'm the owner and the CEO of the EJW Zone, and you can check that out, as you can see on the screen there. So I'm a senior executive trainer, a national board certified and licensed counselor, and I'm also a certified coach and consultant. And I really enjoy collaborating with organizations and teams and individuals in the areas of leadership development, mental health, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and just human dynamics in general. So with my diverse leadership skills, I just help organizations move and build high performing professionals there. So that's a little bit deeper dive in terms of what I do. I work with government, education, law enforcement, and so on in terms of my clientele. And a few things about me, I love to roller skate, right? So, and it's usually indoors at the roller rink. And I enjoy working out and going to the museums and dancing. So I would say back in the 80s, I was known as one of the breakdance queens, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. So yeah, so welcome, relax. We would like to introduce this session in a more relaxed mode here for you. So if there is a question that comes up, we're going to look at the opportunity to incorporate that as soon as possible. Okay. And thank you for your message as well, Danielle, there too. Thank you. We appreciate you for that. Oh, yeah, I'm a retired Illinois State Trooper as well. So here, let's get right into this vertical leadership. So vertical leadership is a concept that leaders follow when developing themselves as team leaders. All right. So it has to do a lot with the mental models of that particular leader. So what I would like to do is hear from the panelists. The first question that I want us to highlight is, how would you define vertical leadership? So what does vertical leadership mean to you?
I'll take that. For me, vertical leadership is developing your mindset. It's like pouring water into a glass and the glass expanding. So in the military, we are beginning to, in the Army, do a lot of vertical development when it comes to individuals in leadership positions. And what we do are what's called 360 assessments. So not only do we get to know how we're performing from our supervisor, but we also get feedback from our peers, from our subordinates, and again, from other leaders that we work with or have worked with. And the feedback is not only about our performance, but about our behavior, about how we interact with one another, just a full spectrum of things that deal with our leadership. So it's being able to relate to people on a personal level. It goes beyond the book knowledge and the education that you receive for your specific skill. I think it goes a lot deeper than that. It's about, to me, relationships that you build with your people that you work with your supervisors, with your peers. So to me, that's what vertical leadership is, and how it's being used in the Army. We also have a new initiative going on in the Army that before you take command, you are required to do an assessment on your mental state, basically. And they don't allow you to pick who is assessing you, but you go through a series of, again, it's a 360 assessment, and they go through your record to see who you've worked with, and they actually pick the individuals who assess you, because we've had a problem with toxic leadership, now counterproductive leadership. And if you are not able to pass that assessment, you actually go to a course for a week, and they use the assessment that they've received from the 360 assessment. They have you go through a series of tests, questions and answers, interviews, as well as writing an essay. And so, although you may be selected for command, you also have to pass this second level of scrutiny before you're allowed to be in a command position, which I think is great. So those are some examples of how we're using vertical leadership in the Army.
Wow, that is awesome. Colonel Torse. Wow, the Army really is moving out on that. So you said, what does it mean to me? So for me, it is really about empowering and influencing those not just above you, not only your peers, but your followers, right? So when we look at the full spectrum, as was mentioned, a 360 survey for leaders, it's also about being a leader, meeting your followers where they're at, meeting your peers where they're at, pouring into them. The analogy of pouring the water in the glass, great analogy, right? But because it really is, the leader at the top is about leading in, leaning in, and providing that skill set and leadership skills to those that may not have those. And you don't know what you don't know if you're not given an opportunity to embrace change and really understand and learn. So for me, it's really about, as I often say, meet them where they're at. So meet the followers where they're at, meet the peers where they're at. And sometimes you meet your leaders where they're at to help them also learn and understand. So vertical leadership, again, it's about once you know, you share it. So, and be okay with taking the risk. That's what it means to me.
Okay, well, thank both of you all for sharing. I was listening to you when you were speaking, Colonel Churase, and you were saying it's about having that personal level. And sometimes when we hear that word like personal, and then you think of workplace, so this is a great time and for us to start getting into some examples of what that vertical leadership looks like. And then also, Colonel Dr. Carroll, you talked about empowering others, right? And that also requires a delicate balance too in this situation. So I think this is a great time for us to maybe share. Can you share some personal examples of what that vertical leadership looks like? Yeah.
Definitely. In my office, before I got here, I worked in the building. So I watched the people that worked in the department that I was moving into. And occasionally they knew I was coming. So they'd have, conversations, ma'am, when are you showing up? When are you coming? But I could tell that they were not happy with their current supervisor situation. Didn't ask any questions. But one of the first things we did was team building event. We went to the Resiliency Center here on base. We did yoga and we took a cooking class. And with that event, I got a chance to see, another side of the people, of the team members that I work with that I don't get to see in the office. And I think it was really a great experience to get to see people outside of their environment. I know with teleworking, a lot of times it's hard to do that. But to me, getting to know people, what's going on with their day. I mean, it's one thing to ask somebody how they're doing, but if you really stop and pay attention to people and notice their body language or their facial expressions, if they're not, the same person that they normally are, it's a red flag. And we've had some instances in the military, a lot of instances where people have hurt themselves because nobody was paying attention. So to me, it's important to get to know people. It's important to pay attention to people. There's a quote by Theodore Roosevelt: people don't care how much you know unless they know how much you care. So I live by that. And I know my people will do whatever I ask. And I'm not going to ask them to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. So I try to lead by example. Treat the janitor with the same respect that I treat the 3-star general that I work for. So it's all about relationship building to me.
Okay, thank you. So that's that human dynamics aspect of it that you're bringing in there as well. And paying attention, you mentioned that, and asking a question. Great. Yes. I see you shaking your head.
No, I am agreeing. As I listen to Colonel Torres just talk about, and being that we are in mental health month, right? The previous speaker talked about mental health. It is about the current state of human dignity and respect. And my leadership philosophy, how I handle and how I ensure that I'm developing and meeting people where they're at, is really about the 3 L's. I listen, learn, and lead. I listen to them when they speak, because if you don't listen, they will not talk to you. So breaking that barrier down early, as was just mentioned, a cooking class, a team building, but really just having a conversation, right? Getting to know your people, and your people will do anything for you. And then learn about them professionally, personally, and being there when they need you to be there, and then lead. Be the leader that you want them to be when you move out the way. So it's really about preparing someone to take your place, because we're not always going to be in these roles. And so again, that's what it's about to me. And I love the fact that it really is about, encapsulating and getting people to understand, to trust. Because if you don't trust, they won't talk, and the barrier will remain. So trust is also very integral into breaking down the barriers.
Yes, and trust could be another session too.
Yes, it
We
could.
could
Yes,
really
it
spend
could.
time on. So that listening, the learning, and speaking, and part of that speaking too is also paying attention there.
Yes.
I do want to ask, our time is going right now, so I do want to ask this. What is one thing, something for the attendees, what is one thing you may advise this next generation of women leaders, and how should they seek out advocates, mentors, or advice as it relates to vertical leadership? Can you just please expand on that for us, please?
I would say that every conversation that you have is an interview, whether it's with a superior, a subordinate, or a peer. Someone is always listening, even though you may not think they're listening, and they can take that information and for the good or for the bad, use it towards a selection purpose. So that's what one of my mentors told me. So I just am very aware, very thoughtful when I speak in an open forum, no matter where I'm at. And don't be afraid to ask for help. We have leaders out here and they want to help you get to the next level. They want to push you to get to where they are. But if you don't talk to them, if you're afraid to approach them, they can't help you. So I would say, go to that person who is what you want to be when you grow up and talk to them, because they are chomping at the bit to talk to you. They want to give you the information you need, but a lot of times they're so busy, they may not seek you out. So every conversation is an interview, and approach those people who have those qualities, skills, traits, behaviors, attributes that you want to aspire to.
Okay, thank you very much.
And on that, understanding in the essence of time, what I will also offer is you're always on parade. And don't be afraid to ask, because if you don't ask, the answer will always be no. So go for it and be you, and seek out advocates.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you all very much for that. Actually, was there any question from the
chat?
Or anyone send anything in for us to just take a moment? Literally, okay. So we didn't have any questions at this point. So that says we're doing great here, right? We're giving them some of the good takeaways. So what I would like to do then is just to thank all of you in terms of the attendees. And thank you for just being here with us and giving us your attention. And also, I appreciate my two panelists, Colonel Princess Aturose and Colonel Dr. Janice Carroll, too, for your input and your knowledge, and really taking out time with us from your busy schedule. And also, just in general, we thank the 2023 Women to Watch Summit organizers and staff for this time, too. And as we close here, you know what? I do want to ask a question. Okay. So how about this? In a few words, if you all could just give me one, or just give the attendees one piece of advice to the audience of what would it be? What would it be if you could just give them one bit of advice?
Is it just us? I think we lost Colonel Tuesday.
Yeah.
So my bit of advice is, if you see it, go for it. Don't be afraid. What I wish my younger self would have told me, again, once you're all grown up, you often look back, is there is no fear. There is no fear. So go for it, do you, and believe in what you can do. The only way that you will not get there is if you tell yourself no. Go for it.
All right. I love that advice too. And just in case you all are wondering, we got a message from Colonel. She's fine.
Okay, she's great. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It was just an error with the computer there. And okay. I would just close with, hey, as Oscar Wilde said, be you because everyone else is taken. So you have a lot to offer. And once again, we thank you for your time. And I believe she'll be up. We'll see. Well, we'll see if she comes back up at this time. Anything? Anything additional you would like to share? We have about maybe a minute or two until.
1 minute. 1 minute. Is that Colonel Tursay? Is she back?
Yep, we have 60 seconds according
Okay.
to what they're saying. So we do.
I was going to say I'm honored to be a part of Women to Watch, and definitely a forum. And if again, definitely reachable as well out there. There's many things out there where I can be reached online, but this is definitely an opportunity. It's all about truly developing the next generation, allowing them to grow and to be what we're not, right? Every generation gets better, and it's better because we pour into each other. So again, thanks for the opportunity. And I don't see Colonel Tursay, so back to you, Ms. Washington, and thank you for being our moderator today.
Yes, appreciate you so much too. And we enjoyed this pouring into you all and others and reaching back and giving back for opportunities like this as well. So we thank you so much there. And we've gotten our cue that our time is up. So, all right.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Edie Washington, Dr. Colonel Janice Carroll, and Colonel Princess Tursay for that excellent speech on vertical leadership. We will be right back after this quick commercial break.
She's got a mind that's sharp as a knife, breaking barriers every day of her life. In a field where she's often the only one, her determination can be undone. Contributions to science and tech will inspire generations to come. You bet. From coding to chemistry, they paved the way. A brighter future every single day. They're brilliant, they're strong, and endlessly bold. An inspiration for the young and the old. Women of color in STEM, breaking down doors, breaking stereotypes, and so much more. Their contributions to science and tech will inspire generations to come. You bet.
We'll now be presenting the Women to Watch honorees, recognizing outstanding women who are making significant contributions to STEM. To read the full profiles on each of our honorees, follow the Women of Color QR code on the page, and it'll lead you to the digital magazine and you can dive deeper. We'll be taking a quick break after this segment, so stay tuned and don't go anywhere.
She's got a mind that's sharp as a knife, breaking barriers every day of her life. In a field where she's often the only one, her determination can be undone. Women of color in STEM, breaking down doors, breaking stereotypes, and so much more. Their contributions to science and tech will inspire generations to come, you bet. From coding to chemistry, they paved the way. A brighter future every single day. They're brilliant, they're strong, and endlessly bold. An inspiration for the young and the old. Women of color in STEM, breaking down doors, breaking stereotypes, and so much more. Their contributions to science and tech will inspire generations to come, you bet. Innovators and trailblazers aren't afraid to speak. Their stories of success are the ones we need to seek. Their brilliance and talent can't be denied. Women of color in STEM, we stood by your side. Women of color in STEM, breaking down doors, breaking stereotypes, and so much more. Their contributions to science and tech will inspire generations yet to come, you bet. You bet. Women of color in STEM, keep reaching for the stars. Your accomplishments will take us far. You are the future, you are the change. Let your brilliance shine. It's time to rearrange. She's got a mind that's sharp as a knife, breaking barriers every day of her life. In a field where she's often the only one, her determination can be undone. Women of color in STEM, breaking down street, they paved the way. A brighter future every single day. They're brilliant, they're strong, and endlessly bold. An inspiration for the young and the old. Women of color in STEM, breaking down doors, breaking stereotypes, and so much more. Their contributions to science and tech will inspire generations to come. You bet. Innovators and trailblazers aren't afraid to speak. Their stories of success are the ones we need to seek. Their brilliance and talent can't be denied. Women of color in STEM, we stand by your side. Women of color in STEM, breaking down doors, breaking stereotypes, and so much more. Their contributions to science and tech will inspire generations yet to come. You bet. You bet. Women of color in STEM, keep reaching for the stars. Your accomplishments will take us far. You are the future, you are the change. Let your brilliance shine. It's time to rearrange. She's got a mind that's sharp as a knife, breaking barriers every day of her life. In a field From coding to chemistry, they paved the way. A brighter future every single day. They're brilliant, they're strong, and endlessly bold. An inspiration for the young and the old.
Welcome back to the Women to Watch Summit. I have a question for you. Is there such a thing as too many women in STEM leadership positions? We certainly don't think so. Next up, we will have a roundtable discussion on the challenges of the shortage of women in STEM leadership positions. Our moderator will be Akash Shupias, Program Manager at LMI, and she will be joined by Dr. Donna L. Bell, Executive Vice President, Product Creation, Engineering, and Supply Chain at Lordstown Motors, and Stephanie Easter, Senior Vice President and Chief Sustainability Officer of Cobham Advanced Electronic Solutions. Please welcome our next panel.
Good afternoon, everyone. And great, Akash has joined us right on schedule. So
Yes.
Thank you, Akash.
Sorry about having technical challenges. I was alone in the room and I was like, where's everyone? Welcome all. Good afternoon and welcome to the Women to Watch Roundtable discussion, the challenges of the shortage of women in STEM leadership positions. Happy Cinco de Mayo for all of you who celebrate today. My counterpart said, my name is Akash Shupias. I'll be your moderator today, and I have the privilege to engage in the discussion as a panelist as well. I look forward to an insightful and engaging discussion on the challenges of the shortage of women in STEM leadership positions. Our discussion today will begin with introductions, followed by questions for our panelists, and we will wrap up with the Q&A at the end for about 5 minutes. If you have questions for our panelists, feel free to submit them via the Slido app. Joining me today are two phenomenal leaders that will share their career journeys, challenges, and how they have advanced in their own career trajectories. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Akash Shupias. I will dual hat today as your moderator and a panelist. I am a program manager at LMI, and most of my career postgraduate school have been in private sector, primarily in management consulting. I hold a degree in information system, and I'm a past collegiate president of the National Society of Black Engineers. And I'm currently completing my doctoral research on women in the C-suite at Hood College. Our second panelist is Stephanie Easter. She's a senior vice president and chief sustainability officer at Cobham Advanced Electronic Solutions. Stephanie, welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Akash. It's a pleasure to be here with you. As Akash mentioned, I currently serve as the Chief Sustainability Officer at CASE. Prior to joining CASE, I've been there for a year. I served at SAIC as a Vice President for the Army Business Unit as well as strategy for them. Before coming into industry, I spent 34 years with the Department of Defense. In various positions, ranging from an engineer when I first started up through a senior executive. And I'm excited to be here today to share with you some of the challenges that we all face and hopefully will overcome very soon.
Thank you, Stephanie. Our third guest and panelist is Dr. Donna Bell. She's the Executive Vice President of Production Creation, Engineering, and Supply Chain at Lordstown Motors. Donna, welcome. Please introduce yourself.
All right. Thank you, Akash. And thank you definitely to the Women to Watch Summit organizers for inviting me. I always enjoy having an opportunity to share what I've learned and what I've done with others that are pursuing careers in the STEM fields. So I have been with Lordstown Motors since July of 2022. And prior to that, worked at Ford Motor Company in a number of leadership roles. I enjoy STEM and really engage other women in the pursuit to be in leadership roles within the STEM field, and just continue to, inspire and provide mentorship and leadership.
Great. Thank you for the introductions. Before we jump to the questions, I want to share statistics on women in STEM and leadership with you today. And according to the American Association of University Women and the Pew Research Center, women are about 50% of the U.S. population. And women make up about half of the U.S. labor force, about 47.7%, but only 31.7% of top executive roles are women, about 11% in corporate leaders, and 5 to 6% of CEOs in the U.S. are women. Women make up only 28% of the workforce in STEM, and men vastly outnumber women majoring in most STEM fields in colleges. Women earn 85% of the bachelor degrees in health-related fields, but just 22% in engineering and 19% in computer science as of 2018. Women are often dissuaded from pursuing STEM careers, specifically Black girls and women and Latinas are often more likely to be dissuaded from pursuing careers in STEM because they face discrimination and have less access to critical resources, opportunities, and roles. Research also shows that there is no inherent difference in math and science capabilities between girls and boys. One study found that the apparent gender gap in mathematics is smaller in countries with greater gender equality, suggesting that gender differences in math are largely due to cultural and environmental factor and not ability. So, with all that said, looking at your career trajectory, what has changed for you and how have you changed over the years? Let's start with Donna.
All right. So thank you for the question, Stephanie. I mean, Stephanie, it's like, where did you get that from? Akas. So when I think about my career and how it has developed, I really think about the fact that with every step, every inflection point, I have learned something new. I have been able to engage with different leaders, really understand what their thought pattern is and how to engage with them. And I think it's just really around surrounding myself with individuals that are like-minded. One of the things that I really think about as I continue to grow and develop, that it's not just about my professional growth, it is about my personal growth. And whenever I move to a new position, it's okay, what can I learn? What can I learn? What can I take along? What can I teach others? And what I've learned in my current role is that having relationships is so important. When you have an idea or you have something that you want to get across the line and you've built relationship with those individuals that have the capability to help move those items across the line, that is success. And you learn how to develop those skills, you learn how to develop those relationships, and really understand what's important. One of the other things that I try to do is make sure I teach everything that I learn. So if I am working with a team of engineers and there's something that I've learned from a corporate perspective, I want to teach that to the team so that as I'm explaining things, they can understand. And that is very important so that you don't get team members that are confused or don't really understand the direction of the company. Those are the things that I try to give back. Those are the things that I've learned, and those are the things that I will continue to do as I move forward in different roles throughout my career.
Right. Stephanie, what about you?
Yeah, so throughout my career, as I mentioned briefly, I started as an engineer with the Department of the Navy. So I would say that the biggest change was transitioning from being an individual contributor to a leader. And in that, I had to learn to not rely only on my personal experience and expertise, but to use that personal experience and expertise to develop others. And so that's probably been the biggest transition if you look across where I started in my career and where I am today. The other aspect of that trajectory is just continuously learning. I mean, I think it's clear to say that all of us are or should be continuous learners. You never know it all. And as Donna mentioned, you have to be willing to share it with others. And that's what developing future leaders is all about. And that's kind of what I've learned and how I've changed. Basically, I've gone from an individual contributor, relying on my technical expertise and the skills that I learned, to being able to use that to help develop others.
I echo that as well, Stephanie. For me, the trajectory has been starting off as an analyst and then stepping into a leadership role and really understanding what my leadership style is. I've come to accept that I'm a servant leader. On everything I do kind of embodies that. I want to ensure that my teams are successful, that they, like Donna said, they have the resources and the information to be successful. And so, developing other future leaders is what I seek to do every day. And so for me, the change has been, like you said, starting from an individual contributor to stepping into the role of a leader. So,
Hey, Akos, can I just
yes.
double click on something that you mentioned, because I think is very important for those that are watching to realize that self-reflection is so important. So both you and Stephanie talked about going from an individual contributor to a leader. You have to do that self-reflection. You have to take a look at, okay, what skills do I have? What skills do I need? And how do I close the gap? I'm sure it's going to come up later on in the session, but I just wanted to double click on that because that's just an important thing, that it takes time and it's hard, but it's something that you definitely have to do when you move into a leadership role.
Yes. So continuing that, Donna, what opportunities did you seek out early in your career that helped to position you in your leadership roles?
So one of the very first things that I tried to do was attach myself to people that looked like me. So thinking about employee resource groups and the opportunities that they could offer with showing my capabilities, that was the important for me. So when I was at Ford, there was an organization called the Ford African Ancestry Network, and I volunteered right away. It was one of the very first things that I did, and I supported the organization throughout my entire career. Not one day was passed that I was not part of FAN, is what it was called at the time. So searching out those organizations that you can volunteer, you can get to know leaders, that was important to understand who you can surround yourself with that could see your capabilities, be an advocate for you, can identify opportunities that you might not see and put you in a path towards success. Those were all things that were very important, but it really started with having that connection and within an organization that had ties throughout the entire company. And even today at Lordstown, I really engage with the women of the company because I think it's important for them to know that I'm supportive. And we just submitted a number of applications for the Women of Color in STEM conference. And that was an exercise that they had never gone through. And so those are the types of things that I try to do, is just make sure that I connect with, again, those that look like me, those that I'm, might not see themselves in leadership positions, but help drive in that direction.
Thank you, Donna. Yeah, connectedness is my go-to word, and I'm a strong opponent of networks. So, Stephanie, what opportunities did you seek out early in your career that helped to position you into your leadership roles?
Yes, Donna was speaking. I had to smile because I'm like, wow, I wish I had people who looked like me in leadership positions that I could attach myself to when I was coming up. And unfortunately, I didn't. So I want to encourage everybody who's watching is, if you're in that situation and you don't see other women of color in leadership roles, it doesn't mean you still shouldn't try to attach yourself to them. But I also encourage you to have a support group, where I find mine at my peer group, where we all supported and encouraged each other. So that was one thing I did. The other thing I did was make sure I sought out mentors. And Donna mentioned it, she just didn't use that word. So I'm just attaching those advocates she talked about. I'm attaching the name mentor to them. Because for me, it was instrumental, because they were people who saw my potential before I saw it, and also pushed me and encouraged me to do things that were outside of my comfort zone. And be honest with you, Akash, as I was listening to the statistics and how few women we have in leadership positions, I can't help but think about some conversations I've had with other females who are hesitant to even go after senior leadership jobs. And a lot of times we count ourselves out because as women, we have a tendency, and I don't want to generalize, but we have a tendency to want to have 100% capability for a given job before we go after it, or at least 95. Because I think if everybody listening to this thinks about their career and having looked at a job and saying, I'm not sure I'm qualified for that. I'm sure most of us have had that conversation where our male counterparts, apply for jobs that they may be 50%, qualified for. So my point is, it's so important to have that support structure that Donna talked about, whether it's a mentor, whether it's a peer group, whether it's an association or a group within your organization. I think it's important because that's how we are often encouraged and motivated to get out of our comfort zone and to go for things that we normally wouldn't go after, left to our own devices.
Yes, and the statistic is actually, I think, 75% of women as opposed to 26% of men, right? Want all the T's crossed and the I's dotted before they jump in.
Yes.
So that's just the reality. So looking at your trajectory, what are some of the challenges that you face in the workplace as you advance in your career, and how did you overcome those barriers? I know we talked about mentors, if you had any coaches or any champions, if you can talk about those as well.
Yes,
Donna?
I'll start since I'm
Oh,
on the
go ahead.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
So
that's great.
I tell people probably the biggest challenge I faced throughout my career was, I call it being taken at face value. Okay, because early in my career, I found myself in situations where, and even later in my career, I was the only female, I was the only person of color, and I was relatively young compared to my peer group at the time. So when I walked into a room, people saw a young Black female.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't see an engineer. They didn't see a program manager. They saw my physical attributes. And unfortunately, that counted against me more than it counted for me in my career when I was coming up. So that was a challenge. So what I had to do to overcome that was to learn in my own way to not only have outside advocates, but to be comfortable advocating for myself. Now, my personality type made that very, very difficult. I have a very hard time with the I did this or I did that. But it's something that I had to learn to do at some level. So I encourage each of you, if you're not comfortable taking credit for things, if you're not comfortable tooting your own horn, you have to find that sweet spot where you're okay advocating for yourself. So when you find yourselves in those situations, a challenging situation, you can speak out with confidence and saying, basically, I deserve to be here. I have a right to be here. And oh, by the way, you guys are lucky that I am here. Okay, because I'm going to change the atmosphere and I'm going to make it better for everybody.
Yes, I receive it all. And my doctoral research is on women and advocacy. So I absolutely concur with everything you said, Stephanie. Thank you. Donna, what are some of the challenges that you face in the workplace as you advance in your career? And how did you overcome those challenges?
So I'm going to probably just build on some of the things that Stephanie talked about from the last question. But the biggest challenge and the most important challenge for me was getting out of my own way. And, one of the things that I mentor to other women about is that we brought you into company for a reason. You brought, you're bringing talent, you're bringing knowledge, you're bringing your personal character to the table. I want to see that. I want to use that. We want you to contribute to the direction of the company. And so the biggest thing for me was really getting out of my way, convincing myself that I wasn't good enough for a position, or, Stephanie talked about that earlier. I had to have those people that I surrounded myself with, that really pushed my limits. And took me out of thinking negatively about where I was, right? Because you can go into a room and say, well, they're probably thinking this about me. And nobody will ever really say that. But you, in your mind, you're preventing yourself from progressing. And so one of the things that I had to tell myself is that I was my only competition. If I'm my competition, then I'm not worried about anybody else in that room. And I mean, maybe they should be concerned about me or maybe not. But that kept me focused. It kept me on track to what my goals were. And it was easy for me to articulate to my mentors and my advocates what I wanted to do with my career. And that was, again, that was the most important thing, is just getting out of my own head.
Yes, yes. We tend to doubt ourselves. That's where the term imposter syndrome comes into play. Wrestling with ourselves, and knowing that we belong at the table and taking on that ownership. Before I turn it over to Q&A, I do want you to keep in mind one of the questions that I wanted to pose, but we're running out of time, is as we wrap up and as we jump into Q&A, what is your best advice for breaking past barriers and your recipe for success? We don't have to answer it now because I do want to take questions for the Q&A, but I want to make sure that we're leaving the audience with those parting recommendation advice before we close. So let's look at questions from our panel, from our audience. What advice would you give your 25-year-old self? I'm going to start with that. I'm going to jump in. One advice I would give my 25-year-old self is do not change. Over the years, I think the confidence that I walked into corporate America with kind of dwindled with time, because oftentimes, like Stephanie said, I was the only woman and the only Black person at times. And a lot of time I would ask, and I was really young at the time, I kept asking myself, do I belong here? Do I belong here? And I had no reassurance outside of my own head that I belonged there. And I started believing that I did not belong. And so I would tell my old 25-year-old self, you belong there. You are amazing. Continue to be amazing.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
So, Akash, just building on what you just mentioned, not changing anything, so you think about a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. If you don't have those challenges and go through those different challenges and adversities, your strength is not going to be there. I can't tell my daughters that this, do exactly how I did it and you'll be just fine. They have to learn for themselves. And sometimes as a parent, it's difficult watching them go through that, but they have to go through those challenges and adversities to learn and to grow. And so to your point, I wouldn't change anything, because everything that I went through got me to where I am today.
And I'll simply add, the one thing I would say to my 25-year self is take your time. Okay. Everything is not a sprint.
Yes. What other questions do we have from the audience? How did you navigate power structures early in your career versus later in your career when you had a more formal leadership role? So how did you navigate power structures early in your careers and then later in your career?
I'll take the first shot at that one. Interestingly enough, I don't know that I did them any differently. And I think I understand what the person asking the question is. Because when you're in a position of leadership, we tend to think that we don't have to deal with power struggles because we can just step in the room and set it straight, right? Because I'm in charge and I'm the leader. That's just not my approach. So when I was early in my career, if I found myself in a power struggle, I engaged with the people that I thought I was in the power struggle with, right? Understand, because the environment I grew up in, it required a lot of teamwork. So we could not afford to be fighting against each other, okay, and then get the job done. So early on, I had to figure out, how do I collaborate? How do I understand where the differences are? why is there an issue with power? It's enough for everybody to do. And I continue to do that even when I was in a position of leadership where I could have easily said, because I said so, or this is what we're going to do. But I learned early on that that's not as effective, because you need people to accomplish goals. And as you progress through your career, you're more dependent on other people than you probably think you are. A lot of people think I'm in charge. I don't need to worry about anybody else. Even in senior leadership positions, it's about collaborating with others to get things done. So you don't want to wield too much power for what I call small things. Okay, so if it's a power struggle, just take on the individual that you're and understand what's going on, but stay true to yourself when you do that.
We'll take one last question. Do women in your profession have a hard time getting promoted? Donna, do you want to take that one?
Sure. I do see a trend in that direction. Again, it's about one of the things that I was going to mention to the question that you posed at the end, Akas, was that you have to have a plan. I've never driven cross country or down south without having some type of map or plan on how I'm going to get there. On how I'm going to get there. My computer just died, sorry. And I think that's important for you to have a plan and for you to write it down and for you to visit it, so that you know that you're on track to your vision and to your mission. And that's a lot of work. It's hard work. And so a lot of times, I think women in the area of STEM, they get discouraged because of not having that focus or not having that vision. And so that's what I encourage, women all the time is write it down. Write down what you want to be, and don't be afraid to shoot, for the moon. Go as far as you possibly can, and then share it with others so they can help you get there.
Well, thank you, Donna and Stephanie. This ends our portion of the session for the challenges of shortage of women in STEM leadership position. Thank you to our panelists, Stephanie Easter and Donna Bell, for sharing their leadership journey and advice on overcoming challenges and barriers. And thank you to our wonderful audience for your wonderful questions. And on to the next session. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies, for that wonderful panel. Thank you for joining us for the Women to Watch Summit. We hope that you found the conference informative, inspiring, and empowering. Throughout this summit, we heard from incredible women in STEM who shared their experiences and provided valuable advice for navigating a successful career. These women are true role models, demonstrating that with determination, hard work, and resilience, anything is possible. The Women to Watch Summit was created to provide a trusted environment for women in STEM to connect, share their experiences, and inspire one another. We believe that when women come together to support each other, amazing things can happen. We've heard about the challenges that women face in the workplace and how these women have overcome those obstacles with creativity, innovation, and perseverance. We learned about the importance of self-care and work-life balance, and how to take care of oneself is essential for a successful and fulfilling career. We hope that this summit has encouraged you to connect with other women in STEM, to share your own experiences, and to continue to inspire and support one another. While today we celebrate the 2023 Women to Watch, we're always looking to cultivate the next generation of women in STEM leaders. You can be a part of this process by submitting nominations for the 2023 Women of Color STEM Conference Outstanding Achievement Awards. Thank you for being a part of the 2023 Women to Watch Summit, and we look forward to seeing you at our future events.
She's got a mind that's sharp as a knife, breaking barriers every day of her life. In a field where she's often the only one, From coding to chemistry, they paved the way. A brighter future every single day. They're brilliant, they're strong, and endlessly bold. An inspiration for the young and the old. Winning up color in STEM, breaking down doors, breaking stereotypes, and so much more. Their contributions to science and tech will inspire generations to come, you bet. Innovators and trailblazers aren't afraid to speak. Their stories of success are the ones we need to seek. Their brilliance and talent can't be denied.